Chapter 1502. It was definitely a big deal for the Divine Phoenix Empire's emperor to personally lead an expedition. The army was led by 3 generals, namely the Left Commander, Right Commander, and Ice General. The Left Commander and Right Commander each led an army of 200,000. Ice General led an army of 100,000. Emperor Fengming Wuliang had 10,000 personal guards under the command of Mirror Minister Fengming Dahai. This was also the person Fengming Wuliang trusted the most. There were actually 4 Yin-Yang realm experts in this expedition. This made many people shudder. They knew that Lin Haiqing would probably not be able to escape this calamity. After all, in their impression, there were no other Yin-Yang realm experts in the Heavenly Empire other than the Moon Maiden. Moreover, a very important point was that since Fengming Wuliang had chosen to lead the expedition personally, it meant that he would definitely return victorious in this battle. Otherwise, he would probably lose even more face than before. The position of the Celestial Emperor would soon change. Even before the election began, he would probably not be able to continue holding the position. It was precisely because of such serious consequences that people believed that Fengming Wuliang had a terrifying determination and firm goal. This time he would definitely not return easily if he did not achieve his goal this time. For this reason, Fengming Wuliang even lowered his status and went to the Fire Phoenix tribe to ask the Black and White Elders to help stop the Moon Maiden and the Liquor Demon Sword. If there were still people in the Divine Phoenix clan who could stop the Moon Maiden and the Liquor Demon Sword, it would be the Black and White Elders. Although the Fire Phoenix tribe and the Ice Phoenix tribe were not on good terms, they were still the Divine Phoenix imperial family. At this time, they naturally could not just stand by and watch. More importantly, the Black and White Elders of the Fire Phoenix tribe thought of Jilin Yue because of Ling Xiao. Back then, they were able to plot against a little girl. Now, they naturally would not let Ling Xiao continue to grow. They did not participate in the battle previously because they were not completely confident. But now they were just intercepting and not fighting to the death. They felt that there was no problem. Compared to strength, these 2 people were more adept at scheming. Of course, in order to invite these 2 people, Fengming Wuliang had also paid a huge price. As for what the price was, perhaps only they knew. Lin Haiqing was not far from the Divine Phoenix Empire's capital. In addition, the army this time was made up of elites. It only took a day and a night to travel. Looking at the black mass of the army, the people in overgrown forest city panicked. They didn't have a good impression of the Divine Phoenix Empire, but they didn't have a good impression of the Celestial Empire either. But since he was currently in Forest Ocean City, what he was most afraid of was Divine Phoenix Empire completely destroying Forest Ocean City. If that was the case, many things would be irreparable. After all, when immortals fought, mortals would suffer. These commoners were just ordinary people. Even if they were martial artists, they were at most in the martial vein realm or the celestial realm. At this moment, Ling Xiao was still dealing with matters at Qingshu College. In the main hall sat Zhou Yin, Feng Qingyan, Demonic Liquor Sword, Moon Lady, Ling Xiao, and some other student and teacher representatives. Well, Executive Zhou, we have been talking for almost a day and a night. I have said what I should say clearly. You are no longer suitable to be the executive of Qingshu College. It's better for you to step down. That's right. Ling Xiao was forcing Zhou Yin to abdicate. This was also something that had to be done. He had feelings for Qingshu College. However, Zhou Yin had repeatedly harmed Qingshu College's interests because he wanted to help Feng Yinshan conquer the world. There were even a few times when Qingshu College's disciples were being schemed against. Even when others came knocking on his door, he didn't help his own disciples. Instead, he tried to smooth things over. Fortunately, he didn't go too far. Therefore, Ling Xiao didn't plan to go too far. As long as Zhou Yun abdicated, Zhou Yun could still be the former executive, honorary executive, and teacher of Qingshu College in the future. No matter how many times you say it, it's useless. You are just a small disciple of the college. How dare you criticize me, the executive? Zhou Yun snorted coldly. He absolutely couldn't abdicate. Otherwise, Feng Yinshan would have another card in his hand, forcefully taken away. I tried to persuade you, but you refused to come to your senses. Since that's the case, let's vote. There are student representatives and teacher representatives here. I'd like to see if everyone will choose to let you continue as the executive or let Feng Qinyan take the position of vice executive. Ling Xiao had already given him face. He didn't want to do this, but Zhou Yun insisted on not abdicating, so he had to do this. There was no need to think too much about the results of the vote. Many students in the college didn't even know that their executive was called Zhou Yun. Most of them knew Feng Qinyan. Moreover, after many recent incidents, they deeply felt that their interests and lives would only be protected if Feng Qinyan became the executive. This position of executive was given to me by the crown prince of the Hidden Mountain. None of you have the right to take it away. Zhou Yun simply slammed the table, stood up, and roared furiously. What a joke! Qingshu College has never been a royal college. Since its establishment, it has always followed the executive selection system. You can be considered an old executive. Don't tell me you don't even know this. Ling Xiao sneered. In the past, we worked together. You helped me, and I helped you, so we're not enemies. However, you're really not suitable to be the executive. I don't want to be enemies with you. Zhou Yun looked around and suddenly realized that he had been too concerned about Feng Yinshan's interests over the years. In the end, he had cast aside the interests of the college. Because of this, in the eyes of the students and teachers who sincerely wanted the best for the college, he was really unqualified. Forget it. Forget it. Zhou Yun let out 2 long sighs and left. After all, he was still someone who cared about his reputation. All right, Zhou Yun has left. Vice Executive, Qin Yan, you can officially take the position. Before long, many students will enter Qingshu College. With you around, I believe that Qingshu College will quickly grow stronger. Ling Xiao actually planned to use Qingshu College as a place to cultivate talents for himself. But before that, he had to get rid of those who couldn't help him wholeheartedly. After going through so many ups and downs, those who were still able to stay in the Qingshu Academy were all people who deeply loved the academy and were all people with backbone. Just as the matter of the college was settled, Cold Plum suddenly reported that Feng Mingwuliang had arrived in Lin Hai City. Do you want us to help? Moon Maiden asked. Ling Xiao smiled and said, The reason why I dared to let them occupy Lin Hai City is because I believe that they have the ability to defend it. If they need our help every time, then it's meaningless. You're really not worried. Demonic Liquor Sword said. Feng Mingwuliang dares to personally lead the army. He must have enough confidence and strength to win. Of course I'm not worried, because Feng Mingwuliang knows nothing about my heavenly empire. He will definitely lose this time. Ling Xiao stood up and said, If you don't believe me, you can come with me to watch the show. Chapter 1503. I'm very interested in this show. The Liquor Demon Sword really wanted to know where Ling Xiao's confidence came from. He had never been to the Heavenly Dragon Continent, but he had heard people say that the warriors there were not very strong. Therefore, Ling Xiao, Moon Lady, the Liquor Demon Sword, and Cold Plum went to Lin Hai City together. Feng Qinyan stayed in Qingshu College to organize the college affairs. After all, it was not easy for him to be the dean. On the way, the 4 of them met Elder Black and Elder White of the Fire Phoenix tribe. Feng Mingwuliang is really thoughtful. He actually sent people to intercept us here. But don't worry, we're just going to watch the show. We don't want to fight. Ling Xiao said lightly. Kid, you must be Ling Xiao. But when the elders are talking, it's better for a kid like you not to interrupt. Elder Black sneered. Old Man Black, you think too highly of yourself. What he said is what I said. The Liquor Demon Sword said lightly. What the little man said is what I said. Moon Lady said. Elder Black's face turned a little red as if he had been slapped hard. But an old fox was an old fox after all. He quickly returned to normal. "Since you want to watch the show, let's go together," Elder Black said. "It's not a problem. I'm just afraid that you two are old and will have a heart attack when you see a bad scene." Ling Xiao said with a smile, "Kid, you're sharp-tongued, but we don't know who will have a heart attack." Therefore, Elder Black and Elder White and the four of them went to Lin Hai City together. They were all experts, so they arrived at the Forest Sea City very quickly. It took them less than an hour to reach the city. After arriving at Lin Hai City, Ling Xiao and the others did not approach, but stood in the distance to watch the battle. At this time, Fengming Wuliang's army of more than 500,000 was stationed outside Lin Hai City. They were like a swarm of locusts covering the sky and the earth. With so many warriors, they could cause a landslide with a stomp of their feet. Perhaps even a Yinyang realm warrior would not dare to face such a large number of warriors alone. Overgrown Forest City was also on high alert. Standing on top of the city gate tower was the former great general of the Divine Phoenix Empire, the current great general of the Heavenly Dawn Empire, Jining. Wu Xiang didn't come to Lin Hai City. After all, he was the emperor of the Celestial Empire. Staying in the Celestial Empire's capital was the best choice. Therefore, in this battle, Jining was the overall commander. "Jining, you actually betrayed the Divine Phoenix Empire and sided with the Celestial Empire. Quickly come out and accept your death." The one who spoke was the Ice General. Like Jining, he was one of the 12 immortal generals. Although he was not as powerful as Jining, he had always felt that there was not much difference between him and Jining. These people from Divine Phoenix Empire are truly shameless. That's right. Back then, they removed Jining from his position as Great General and wanted to execute him. Now that he has returned to his hometown, the Heavenly Dragon Continent, and has become the Great General of the Heavenly Empire, they are not happy. In Overgrown Forest City, the people were discussing in private. Outside Overgrown Forest City, many martial artists who were cultivating or out adventuring were also discussing in private. The Ice General's words, in their opinion, were truly shameless to the extreme. You can ask others to give up Lin Hai City, but to say that Jining was a traitor, this was simply nonsense. What if I refused to give up Lin Hai City? Jining stood on top of the city gate tower and asked in a clear voice, "If you refuse to leave Lin Hai City, not only will you die, the people in the city will also have to follow you to their deaths." The Ice General sneered and said, "You are someone who loves the people like your own children. You won't watch these pitiful people die in the sea of fire with you, right? F***CK. I have never seen such a shameless person." The liquor demon's sword could not help but curse. Indeed, the people of Lin Hai City are the people of the Divine Phoenix Empire. They did not protect them well, and now they are using their own people to threaten the Celestial Empire's army. I'm afraid only that Fengming Wuliang would do such a shameless thing. Ling Xiao ridiculed. Elder Black sneered and said, "Facing the invasion of the Celestial Empire's army and not dying in battle, this is betrayal. Death is not enough to be regretted." Elder White also said, "That's right, they should have died in battle long ago." TSK, looks like shamelessness is contagious. If you want those people to die for you, then what do you people from the Imperial family do? Ling Xiao sneered and said, "It seems like the destruction of your Divine Phoenix Empire is inevitable. The Imperial family are all people with such morals. It's still not certain who will destroy who." Elder Black said coldly. Ling Xiao did not say anything else because at this time the negotiations had clearly broken down. Thus, Fengming Wuliang gave the order to attack. Kill. Trample Lin Hai City to the ground. Destroying Lin Hai City, at most he could just build another one. Fengming Wuliang would not feel any heartache at all. As for those innocent people who died, he did not care. If they died, then they died. What did it have to do with him? Frost General attempted to make a contribution, leading an army of 100,000 to charge towards Lin Hai City. He wanted to display his powerful strength to the world, to prove that he was stronger than Jining and better at leading troops. Open the city gates. Ji Ning actually chose to open the city gates. Then, a general rode the most unique fire dragon beast of Sky Dragon continent and led the cavalry to charge out. There were not many people, only 10,000. And this general was precisely Qin Hua. Ji Ning, you dare to look down on me? Fine, after killing this unknown pawn, I will charge into the city and destroy you. General Hanbing was usually very intelligent, but that was only when she was facing a strong opponent. When facing an opponent weaker than him, he was instead too lazy to use his brain. He did not think that if Qin Hua's strength was not enough, would Ji Ning allow him to lead 10,000 fire dragon cavalry to charge out? Fire dragon beast was a type of mount with extremely fast speed. In just a moment, Qin Hua had already charged out. His speed was too fast, so fast that Frost General did not have time to set up a defense. Miserable cries resounded repeatedly, and only corpses could be seen being sent flying. The cavalry that charged out from Linhai City was like a sharp spear that pierced into the army of 100,000, harvesting the corpses like chopping vegetables. Idiots, don't be afraid. They have fewer people, so calm down. Sword-shield soldiers block the front. Archers, prepare to shoot. Frost General roared in anger. But at this moment, a black figure suddenly appeared in front of him. He raised his head to look. This black figure transformed into a cavalry riding on a fire dragon beast. It leapt high up and was less than 5 meters above Frost General's head. Then Frost General felt a terrifying killing intent, and he did his best to brandish his weapon to block. But in the next moment, he felt that his body was split into two from his head by a terrifying spear. I, Qin Hua, have already taken the head of the enemy general. A violent roar resounded. The originally panicked army of 100,000 became even more chaotic because of Qin Hua's might. At this moment, Qin Hua saw an opportunity and charged back with Frost General's head. Chapter 1504. Not only did Qin Hua lead his army to kill Frost General, he also killed at least 30,000 enemies and disturbed the emperor's mind and morale. Beautiful! Ling Xiao couldn't help but praise. In the end, a battle on the battlefield still depended on the strength of the leader. Qin Hua was clearly much stronger than Frost General. Taking Frost General's head was as easy as flipping his hand. The cold reality caused Feng Ming Wuliang to fall into a daze. Feng Ming Wuliang, you personally led the army because you think our heavenly empire is easy to bully, right? But this time you're wrong. Ji Ning still stood on the city gate tower without moving. He coldly looked at Feng Ming Wuliang in the distance with a proud and confident expression. One had to know that in order to increase their strength, Ling Xiao made a big deal with Princess Yunya of the Heavenly Dragon Trading Company in the city of Sin. He bought a large amount of medicinal ingredients and refined them into pills. In addition, he used the imperial ruler's seal as a suppressive item and set up a powerful cultivation formation. If they still couldn't break through, it would be too embarrassing. Frost General, that trash, is a disgrace to the divine Phoenix Empire. Your Majesty, let this general go and challenge him. Commander Zhuo looked at Feng Ming Wuliang and cupped his hands. No matter how strong Frost General was, he was an Yin-Yang realm martial artist, so the impact of losing wasn't too big. In Commander Zhuo's opinion, as long as he could turn the tables, there wouldn't be any problems. Feng Ming Wuliang also thought so, although at first he was shocked by Qin Hua's charge, but now he had recovered his calmness. Okay, go and challenge him. Feng Ming Wuliang nodded. He believed that, in terms of strength, his subordinates were much stronger than those useless people in Lin Haiqing. Commander Zhuo nodded, then floated in the air and approached Lin Haiqing. Ji Ning, if you have the ability, come and fight me for 300 rounds. This time, he was prepared to fight alone. After all, the siege hadn't started yet. If he rashly led the army, it wouldn't be good. If the arrows rained down from the city gate tower, they would be the ones in trouble. Commanders was said arrogantly. Ji Ning, you don't have the guts? That's right. Back then, You couldn't even last a single move from me. It's still the same now. Elder He, who was watching the battle from afar, looked at Ling Xiao mockingly and said, "A momentary victory or defeat is nothing. The one who laughs last is the one who laughs best. In a war in the profound world, victory or defeat is often decided by the strength of the general." He well said, "Let's see who will have the last laugh." Ling Xiao chuckled. These people really had their eyes on the top of their heads, so much so that they were viewing the sky from the bottom of the well. Do they think that the current celestial empire is still the once weak, sacred dynasty? At this moment, another powerful aura came from the direction of Lin Hai City. It was not inferior to Zhuo Du's aura at all. In fact, it was even stronger. You want to fight, right? I'll keep you company. With your status, you're not worthy of the Grand General taking action. It was Xie Li who flew out of Forest Sea City. Xie Li had broken through to the first level of the Yinyang realm because of Ling Xiao during the battle in the northern desert. Now, she had broken through to the third level of the Yinyang realm because of Ling Zhao's elixir pills. Of course, it was also related to her aptitude, but it was also related to Ling Zhao's elixir pills and the cultivation formation set up by the Imperial Jade Seal. A martial artist from the Scorpion Man tribe? I didn't expect that the Scorpion Man tribe would be willing to be someone's slave. Zhuo frowned. Just say it if you're afraid. Don't beat around the bush. Xie Li sneered disdainfully and pounced on Zhuo seeing this. Zhuo could only bite the bullet. However, after 2 rounds, Xie Li's huge scorpion tail pierced through Zhuo's chest and lifted his body up high. "Xie Li, take the head of the enemy general." "Oh! Oh!" Astounding cheers came from the Forest Sea City. Lin Hai City had won the 2 consecutive battles. This finally made Fengming Wuliang's face turn gloomy. He was here to win, not to throw his life away. The enemy's strength was obviously beyond his expectation. Zhuo was the most loyal warrior who had followed him for a long time, but today he was killed by Xie Li so easily. This made Fengming Wuliang doubt whether he had made the right choice in leading the army. In the distance, Ling Xiao looked at Elder Black and Elder White disdainfully and said, "You said that the one who laughs last is the one who laughs best. It seems that you have completely underestimated my generals." Elder Black and Elder White looked solemn and did not say anything. They had nothing to say. They thought that Zhuo could save face, but who knew that he would die? Who else wants to die? Xie Li looked at the enemy indifferently. Zhuo's body was still on his huge scorpion tail. His voice was cold and full of provocation. "Your Majesty, let me go. Zhuo can't die in vain." Right guard could not stand it anymore. He was slightly stronger than Zhuo, but not by much. However, how could he endure being humiliated like this? Wait. Fengming Wuliang was in a mess, but he still maintained a trace of rationality. To be honest, if he completely lost his rationality, he would immediately order the army to attack. However, he did not need to think about what the result would be. 2 of the army's commanders-in-chief had died. Without a commander, the army of close to 300,000 would definitely be in chaos. He did not want right guard to die. "Xie Li, you are a scorpion warrior. Why did you intervene in the war between the Divine Phoenix Empire and the Celestial Empire? Aren't you afraid that I will exterminate your scorpion race in anger?" Fengming Wuliang thought that Xie Li was the most powerful person in Lin Hai City. As long as he could persuade Xie Li to surrender, Lin Haiqing would not be a problem. However, Xie Li was used to being arrogant and domineering. He should be persuading Xie Li to surrender, but it seemed more like a threat. "Shut up!" Xie Li suddenly shouted. Hearing this, everyone was shocked. Xie Li was really something. He actually made Fengming Wuliang, the emperor of the Divine Phoenix Empire, shut up. Did this guy really think that Ling Zhao's Celestial Empire could compete with the Divine Phoenix Empire? Wasn't this a little too arrogant? At this moment, Xie Li's voice sounded again. "Fengming Wuliang, you shameless villain. You have repeatedly tried to exterminate my scorpion race, but we have seen through your scheme. It is all thanks to His Majesty, the Heavenly Emperor, that our scorpion race can survive. He is our benefactor. Who do you think you are to persuade me to surrender? Your Majesty, I can't take it anymore. This Xie Li is simply too arrogant. Let me tear his mouth apart. Right guard roared angrily. At the same time, he rushed out with the iron hammer in his hand. Fengming Wuliang did not even have time to stop him. Archers, cover him. Fengming Wuliang did not want right guard to die in vain, so he tried to use the archers to shoot Xie Li back. However, at the next moment, a series of shrill screams came from behind him. Chapter 1505. Those archers had just knocked their arrows on their bowstrings. But before they could shoot, they were all assassinated by the scorpion warriors that suddenly appeared from the ground. At this moment, Fengming Wuliang finally realized how terrifying the scorpion race was. Scorpion warriors were best at burrowing into the ground, especially in desert hills. They were simply elusive. This was also one of the reasons why both the Divine Phoenix Empire and the Black Crow Empire failed to kill the scorpion race. When you wanted to kill them, you would find that they were already gone. They really came and went without a trace. The moment Fengming Wuliang turned around to check the situation, another scream was heard. He turned around in horror and found that the right guard was also stabbed by Xie Li's huge scorpion tail. After all, Xie Li was at the third level of the Yin-Yang realm. The left guard and right guard were only at the first level of the Yin-Yang realm. They had no chance of winning against Xie Li. Damn it, retreat! Fengming Wuliang knew that they were in trouble this time. When he came, he brought 4 fierce generals with him. Frost General, Left Guard, Right Guard, and Fengming Dahai. However, not long after the battle started, 3 of them had already died. Only Fengming Dahai, who was leading the guards, was left. How could they fight this battle? Their only option was to retreat. Kill. At this moment, how could Ji Ning miss such a good opportunity to chase after them? First, a dense barrage of arrows shot out from the city gate tower and landed in the crowd. Miserable cries rang out one after another. Then the city gate opened and the cavalry led by Qin Hui charged out again. However, this time it wasn't just 10,000 people, but 100,000 people. Basically, all the fire dragon cavalry in Forest Ocean City came out. In addition, there were infantry and puppet soldiers behind them. Seeing this mighty army chasing after them, the Divine Phoenix Empire's army panicked even more. Fengming Wuliang had never led an army before. He was more like Feng Yinshan than Fengming Qishan. He was very good at scheming, but not good at fighting. This was also why he didn't want Ji Ning to live. After all, Ji Ning had already surpassed his master. He was very unhappy. At this moment, the Divine Phoenix Empire's army was already in complete chaos. They were basically being chased and chopped up like vegetables. Long Chen, Shang Guanhong, Hai Mian Ko, and the others were chasing after the enemy. Each of them rode on a fire dragon beast, wanting to experience the feeling of killing on the battlefield. It's over. Old Black and Old White shook their heads helplessly. This battle was truly a crushing defeat. Perhaps only Fengming Wuliang and Fengming Dahai would be able to return alive. The rest would have to die here. It was said that one should not pursue a cornered enemy, but this time, Ji Ning did not choose to give up. He led his army to chase after them, and not only did he cause the Divine Phoenix Army to lose their helmets and armor, but he also killed them all. Some surrendered and some died in battle. They had even seized the opportunity to capture a pass and a city of the Divine Phoenix Empire. The guards of the pass and the city were also idiots. In order to let Fengming Limitless pass through, they removed the defensive array formation. It was easily conquered. If not for the limited military strength of the Heavenly Empire in the Divine Phoenix continent, Ji Ning still wanted to capture a few more cities. Looking at Fengming Wuliang and Fengming Dahai, as well as the 10,000 guards who participated, Ji Ning finally ordered to suspend the pursuit and deal with the aftermath. General, are we really not going to chase? This is a great opportunity to kill Feng Ming Wuliang, isn't it? Xie Li said somewhat unwillingly. Don't worry. Feng Ming Wuliang is destined not to return this time. Ji Ning sneered, looking pensive. Feng Ming Wuliang fled frantically. He was simply aggrieved to the extreme. He couldn't kill Ling Xiao, and he couldn't even capture Lin Haiqing. Not only that, he even lost an important pass and a city. This was simply an absolute humiliation. After returning, he probably wouldn't be able to be the monarch anymore. At this time, Feng Ming Wuliang's face was filled with complicated expressions. There was gloominess, malevolence, and also melancholy. Hateful Jining! Hateful Ling Xiao! Just you wait, I won't let you go. Gritting his teeth, Feng Ming Wuliang's whole body trembled. This kind of thing happened one after another. As a dignified monarch, several of his sons were killed, and his ancestor was also killed. Now, even he was in such a sorry state. And all of this was basically because of Ling Xiao. His hatred for Ling Xiao was evident. Your Majesty, where are you going in such a hurry? Suddenly, a teasing voice came from the front, and it was very close. Feng Ming Wuliang was shocked. He had neglected to observe the surrounding situation because he was running for his life. Unknowingly, he had stepped into someone's ambush. He looked up and saw that not far away, martial artists from the Great Rock Tribe and the Peacock Tribe were blocking his way. The Great Rock Tribe's patriarch, Peng Nantian, Elder Peng Nanyan, and the new Peacock Tribe's patriarch, Kong Hao, stood at the front and looked at him coldly. Peng Nantian and Kong Hao were both Yin-Yang realm experts. Even though they were only at the first level of the Yin-Yang realm, they were still very likely to win against the heavily injured and battered Yin-Yang realm experts. Get lost! The furious Feng Ming Wuliang roared. You're actually willing to be Ling Xiao's slave? Your Great Rock Tribe and Peacock Tribe are really trashed to the extreme. As he spoke, he actually punched out in an attempt to kill Peng Nantian. However, this punch was easily blocked by Peng Nantian. Instead, it was Feng Ming Wuliang who took a few steps back. Peng Nantian's aura was clearly stronger than a few days ago. You actually made a breakthrough. Feng Ming Wuliang looked at Peng Nantian in disbelief. You have good eyesight. It's all thanks to His Majesty the Sky Emperor's medicine that I was able to break through from the shackles of 100 years. Peng Nantian smiled faintly. You said we were trash and became slaves. But I think this is the wisest choice. Don't tell me we'll be killed like you. Besides, the reason why our Great Rock Tribe and Peacock Tribe are where we are today is all thanks to your Ice Phoenix ancestor. If he hadn't bewitched us and instigated us to deal with Ling Xiao, this wouldn't have happened. Although Peng Nantian couldn't let go of the matter of becoming Ling Xiao's slave. However, the current situation was better than he had imagined. Apart from being slaves in name and having to be bound by an oath, the Great Rock Tribe and Peacock Tribe weren't discriminated against. Instead, they received benefits. Basically, all the warriors in the tribe received the medicine from the Heavenly Dynasty Empire and had a breakthrough in cultivation. Of course, this was thanks to the order Ling Xiao gave Wu Xiang when he left the Heavenly Dynasty Empire. Build a pill factory. Ling Xiao even designed all kinds of equipment for refining pills. Now that the pill factory was officially in operation, it could continuously provide pills for the Heavenly Dynasty Empire's warriors. The reason why the pills were given to the Great Rock Tribe and Peacock Tribe's warriors was that in this world, there was nothing more loyal than slaves bound by an oath. Friends could betray, but slaves bound by an oath didn't dare to betray. Chapter 1506. Kill. Peng Nantian didn't waste any more words. Currently, his cultivation was even stronger than Emperor Feng Ming Immeasurable, and he was living very well. Sometimes he actually felt that being Ling Xiao's slave wasn't bad either. Although this kind of thought was fleeting, it had to be started. Following his order, the martial artists of the Peacock clan and the Great Rock clan rushed up and stood together with Feng Ming Immeasurable's guards. and Peng Nantian faced Feng Ming immeasurable. Kong, how faced Feng Ming Dahai. Endless killing, intent bloomed on the ground. A battle that shouldn't have existed happened in the territory of Divine Phoenix Empire. Even many martial artists who were hunting nearby saw this scene clearly. On Peng Nantian's side, there were many people, and the strength of the martial artists wasn't inferior to the guards at all. So at the beginning of the battle, there was still a bit of a stalemate. But as the guards lost more and more, a one-sided situation finally began to appear. Of course, the most direct, deciding battle was still the battle between Peng Nantian and Feng Ming Immeasurable. The two fought for more than 100 rounds, and in the end, Peng Nantian gained the upper hand and slapped Feng Ming Immeasurable to the ground. Blood splattered everywhere and killing intent spread. Feng Ming Immeasurable falling to the ground was the beginning of the reversal of the battle situation. The original confrontation turned into a killing spree. After an hour, the ground was dyed red with blood. The crows in the sky were constantly crying out as they gathered towards this place. 10,000 guards were all killed, although the Peacock clan and the Great Rock clan also lost 1,000 lives because of this. But in this situation, it was definitely worth it. Which war didn't have people dying? Peng Nantian knew this in his heart and could also accept it. Feng Ming Immeasurable was already on the verge of death. Feng Ming Dahai was also seriously injured. The former ambitious and ruthless person was now at the end of his rope. The martial artists who were watching this battle from afar simply didn't dare to believe that all of this was real. The former emperor, the king who commanded the world, actually fell to such a state. Could it be because he offended Ling Xiao? Too terrifying. This divine Phoenix Empire, was it Feng Ming Immeasurable's or Ling Xiao's? Many people felt that they might be confused, already unable to distinguish the huge difference in their hearts. Die. In the end, Kong Hao's strange light pierced through Feng Minghai's throat. The highest-ranking officer of the Bright Mirror Department had actually died at the hands of the Peacock race's new chief. Feng Ming Wuliang felt as if he was dreaming. He couldn't believe that this was real. He had personally led a mighty army into battle, but he had been beaten to the point where he pissed his pants in terror and fled in panic. Not only had he thrown away his armor, but his city had also been occupied. Many people died in battle because of him, but in the end he still couldn't escape death. He didn't understand what he had done wrong to end up in such a predicament. Peng Nantian's sharp rock claws were on Feng Ming Wuliang's neck. As long as he exerted a little force, he could take Feng Ming Wuliang's life at any time. He didn't do that because he was enjoying the feeling. He hated Ling Xiao, but how could he not hate Feng Ming limitless? This bunch of dogs from the Ice Phoenix race had always treated the Great Rock race as their hired thugs, letting them do all the troublesome things. Otherwise, if he had forcefully restrained them, young Master Tianpeng wouldn't have been killed because he offended Ling Xiao. He couldn't find Ling Xiao for revenge, so he completely vented this hatred on Feng Ming Wuliang. Are you really willing to be someone else's slave? Peng Nantian. Feng Ming Wuliang looked at Peng Nantian in a miserable daze, still making his final struggle. I can tell you a way to break free from slavery without violating the oath. Peng Nantian was stunned, a hint of confusion flashing in his eyes. But after a moment he returned to normal. No need, I don't care. You're actually willing to be a slave? Feng Ming Wuliang was shocked. If you're unwilling, you have to die. What's more, I don't feel much humiliation right now. Peng Nantian was a smart person. He knew the consequences of betraying Ling Xiao. Furthermore, how could breaking free from slavery possibly be so easy? Feng Ming Wuliang didn't say. He also knew that that method was merely a method that Feng Ming Wuliang used to bewitch him. Feng Ming Wuliang, do you think that I'm very sad? But now you're going to die and I'm still alive. Crack! The claws finally moved, twisting Feng Ming Wuliang's neck. A crisp sound rang out above the wilderness. The martial artists who were hiding in the distance all felt a pain in their necks and involuntarily shrank back. Retreat! Pang Nantian took the heads of Feng Ming Wuliang and Feng Ming Dahai, then called out. Everyone retreated one after another. The direction of retreat was precisely a city that the Heavenly Dynasty Empire newly seized, fallen Phoenix City. This battle situation was watched by Ling Xiao and the rest, who were hidden in the void from beginning to end. When Feng Ming Wuliang was about to be killed, Black and White Two Elders even planned on making a move to save him. But in the end, they were unable to make a move. With Moon Lady and Wine Demon's sword at the side, how could they make a move? Even if they saw Feng Ming Wuliang being killed, they could only endure it. Ling Xiao, do you know what will happen if you do this? Elder Black looked at Ling Xiao, his eyes no longer having the slightest bit of contempt. There was even a hint of unease that was difficult to conceal. Oh, then tell me, what will happen? Ling Xiao asked back. Elder Black said coldly, although you're aggressive and decisive right now, you've never thought that with your current strength, it's still too difficult to swallow the Divine Phoenix Empire. Furthermore, there's still the Black Crow Empire eyeing covetously. Can you do it? Hee, I naturally know what you're talking about. However, you're a senior, so you should understand that I only have 2 paths to take right now. This was all forced by you guys. Ling Xiao sneered. 2 paths? Elder Black asked doubtfully. The first path is naturally death. Ling Xiao sighed and said, you people don't even want to give me the slightest bit of breathing space. Even if I took the initiative to avoid the battle and take the initiative to endure, in the end, what I get in return is still your bullying and killing. What I did today wasn't what I wanted to do, but it was what I had to do. Of course you won't choose death. Then what's the second path? Elder White asked. The second path is the path I'm taking now. The path of killing like a raging inferno. Taking advantage of the fact that the enemy has yet to gain a foothold. Kill, kill, kill. I won't give you the slightest bit of breathing space until you're no longer a threat to me. Ling Xiao's expression suddenly became murderous. Actually, there's another path. Have you forgotten? You could have chosen to stop while you're ahead and then recuperate. That way, no one will be a threat to you. Elder White reminded. You're wrong. Have you seen a spring before? If I give up on squeezing the spring now, then the rebounding force will become incomparably terrifying. Only by killing and completely crippling this spring will it not harm me. Ling Xiao's gaze was filled with determination. What he wanted to do was not finished yet. Chapter 1507. Goodbye, old fellows. Your era has passed. Now it's my era. Ling Xiao laughed loudly and turned to leave. Moon Lady, Demon Liquor Sword, Cold Plum, and Silver Moon Greedy Wolf followed behind. They went directly to Fallen Phoenix City. Fallen Phoenix City was very close to Divine Phoenix Empire's capital. There were only 3 cities and 2 passes in between. And this city was much larger than Forest Ocean City. There were passes on both sides, so it was easier to defend. To be honest, if it wasn't for Feng Ming Wuliang fleeing for his life, causing the pass to be empty, Jining and the others wouldn't have been able to take down this city so easily. So Ling Xiao planned to make this another capital city of the Heavenly Empire. After all, the divine capital was on the Heavenly Dragon Continent. It was really inconvenient to control the Divine Phoenix Continent at the same time. It was actually better to build another capital city here. Of course, the divine capital would always be the center of power. It had the highest status among all the cities. Fallen Phoenix City was given the name Phoenix City by Ling Xiao. It meant the capital city of the Divine Phoenix Continent. This name actually showed his ambition. Using the continent's name to name the capital city was a sign of continuing the war. At the same time, the Heavenly Dragon Continent's Heaven's chosen academy was also renamed Heavenly Dragon Academy. Ling Xiao planned to build a top-notch martial arts academy on each continent to nurture talents. Because the Divine Phoenix Continent already had the Phoenix Academy, and it was also an enemy force, Ling Xiao didn't plan to use this name anymore. In the future, he would use Qingshu College as the foundation to build it. The name could also continue to use Qingshu College's name. or it could be directly changed to Dragon Phoenix Academy. They would discuss it when the time came. Right now, nothing was set yet. It was better to use this as the foundation to develop first. After staying in Fallen Phoenix City for 3 days, Ling Xiao completed many changes. Fallen Phoenix City also gradually looked like the capital city of the Heavenly Empire in the Divine Phoenix continent. And the person managing this capital city was temporarily Jining. At the same time, Qingshu College moved over as a whole. This matter had even caused a sensation in the Divine Phoenix capital. This was because when many people woke up the next morning, they suddenly discovered that the Heavenly Essence Pagoda that originally stood in the center of the imperial capital had disappeared. At the same time, Qingshu College had also disappeared. It looked like it had been uprooted. There were no signs of battle. Many people even called this a mysterious incident. At the same time, the martial artists of Fallen Phoenix City also discovered something strange. When he woke up in the morning, there was a beautiful place in Fallen Phoenix City that was filled with spiritual energy. There was a new academy, and in this academy there was a tall pagoda that reached into the clouds. This was, of course, Ling Xiao's doing. In the dead of the night, he used the transportation ability of Universe of Tyrants to move Qingshu College and the Heaven Essence Pagoda over. He also released a Blackwater Lake in Qingshu College. This Blackwater Lake was only 1/10 of the size in his Tyrant universe. It was provided for martial artists above the Grotto Heaven realm to cultivate. The Heavenly Essence Treasure Pagoda is for warriors below the Heaven realm. In this way, Qingshu College suddenly had 2 more places for cultivation. At the same time, Ling Xiao and Feng Qingyan discussed selecting young people from the soldiers to enter Qingshu College to be remolded. In addition, the young martial artists of the Great Rock Race and the Peacock Race were not left behind. This made the 2 races overjoyed. They originally thought that after becoming slaves, they would never be able to stand out. However, Ling Xiao did not treat them like slaves at all. In fact, Ling Xiao was a person who really did not want to make enemies. Basically, it was others who attacked him first, and then he took revenge. Therefore, as long as these 2 races worked hard for him, there would naturally be many benefits. He still understood the principle of using the carrot and the stick at the same time. After doing all these things, Ling Xiao finally began to cultivate in seclusion. He had previously told the Black and White Elders that he wanted to walk a fearless path of killing. Since he wanted to kill, his cultivation could not remain stagnant. His strength had to continue to increase. He was very clear that after the incident of killing the Dragon Forest, many people had already figured out his trump cards very clearly. If he wanted his opponents to continue to suffer losses, then he could only continue to increase his strength and increase his trump cards. Therefore, after 3 days, he chose to cultivate in seclusion. The others were not idle either. Jining continued to lead the army to attack the Divine Phoenix Empire, not giving the other party a chance to breathe. In just a few days, they had already conquered 5 cities in a row, including the original Forest Ocean City and Phoenix capitals, Fallen Phoenix City. There were already 7 cities. Although this number was still too little compared to the Divine Phoenix capital's dozens of cities, it was still too little. However, with the 7 cities connected, there was already a strategic buffer zone, so they would be safer. The army from the Heavenly Dragon Continent, in addition to the army that surrendered, was quickly stationed in these 7 cities. At this point, Jining chose to start to recuperate. After all, there was still a limit to the number of people. And at this time, the Divine Phoenix Empire had already regained their senses. After Fengming Wuliang's death, they did not choose a new emperor for the time being. Instead, the Black and White Elders temporarily assumed the position of emperor. After the election, the new emperor would be chosen. It had to be said that the Black and White Elders were very formidable. In just a few days, they had turned the tide and ensured that the Divine Phoenix Empire's northern front would not collapse. Of course, in order to do this, they had no choice but to summon the Dark Phoenix tribe back to the capital and give them an important task. The Dark Phoenix tribe was a double-edged sword. They could kill the enemy, but they could also injure themselves. But the Black and White elders had no choice. Ling Xiao's army had come with a ferocious momentum, and they really did not know where to find so many experts and soldiers. Perhaps it was because of the matter between the Great Pung race and the Peacock race that the Thunder Eagle race and the Vermilion Bird race chose to remain neutral. They were not willing to help Ling Xiao or the Divine Phoenix Empire, lest they be used by others. In addition, the Righteous Alliance Lord had been killed in the Battle of Dragon-Slaying Forest, and the faction behind the scenes, the Council of Elders, had surfaced and taken control of the Righteous Alliance. However, the Righteous Hall was still tightly controlled by the Ice Phoenix race. This was also why the Ice Phoenix race had not immediately collapsed. It was said that the principal of the Righteous Hall was a hidden expert of the Ice Phoenix race. Many people did not even know his name, but they knew how terrifying he was. The war seemed to gradually calm down. The Divine Phoenix continent regained its peace. However, the situation where the Black Crow Empire and the Divine Phoenix Empire were at odds with each other had now become a tripartite confrontation between the Black Crow Empire, the Celestial Empire, and the Divine Phoenix Empire. This was an enormous change. Ling Xiao was well aware of all this, but he did not have the time to care. At this time, he was on a beautiful mountain peak in Qingshu College, continuing to cultivate and comprehend. The most direct way for Ling Xiao to increase his cultivation and strength was to completely master the immemorial Golden Crow battle intent and the immemorial Celestial Demon battle intent. At that time, he was confident that his cultivation and strength would have an astonishing breakthrough. Although he had unsealed the ancient Hell Dragon and the Demon Swordmaster, Ling Xiao did not plan to continue strengthening them. His main goal was to follow the path that the Human King had pointed out. He wanted to activate all the mysteries of the 9 cauldrons of the Tyrant Martial Soul. Chapter 1508. There were a total of 9 cauldrons of the tyrannical martial soul. The first cauldron, the Light and Shadow Profound, had not been fully activated yet. His combat power had already been proven in actual combat. Naturally, he would not give up halfway. As for the ancient Hell Dragon Martial Soul and the demonic Sword Master Martial Soul, they could perfectly complement the Sword of Destruction and the Sword of Slaughter. There was no problem in using them as weapons in battle. Everything was ready. The ancient Golden Crow's battle will was released. At that moment, a terrifying battle will swept across the sky. The glaring golden light shrouded the entire fallen Phoenix City. A huge Golden Crow shadow could be seen floating in the sky. It was terrifying and spectacular. In Qingshu College, a group of disciples who were cultivating looked at the mountain in the distance. His eyes were clearly filled with shock and fear. Could it be an enemy attack? What a terrifying, destructive will. Yeah, it seems like it wants to annihilate everything. It's really scary. The disciples were uneasy. After all, Qingshu College had been moved to Fallen Phoenix City for no reason. Many of them were worried that the Divine Phoenix Empire would come to take revenge. It was normal for them to think of an enemy attack when they suddenly felt such a terrifying, destructive battle will. Let me see how strong this battle will is. Shang Guanhong stood out from the crowd. As one of the core disciples of Qingshu College, he naturally had to step up in this situation. The long sword in his hand shot out. The sharp sword will tore the void apart and plunged into the battle while it filled the sky. Crack! However, with a crisp sound, the divine artifact long sword was destroyed. It turned into specks of debris and fell to the ground. Seeing this, the disciples were even more shocked. Shang Guanhong, on the other hand, smiled knowingly. Although he had lost a sword, he roughly knew who it was from the battle will. Don't panic. Shang Guanhong laughed heartily. Stop arguing and listen to Senior Brother Shang Guanhong. The crowd quickly quieted down. Although there were still some people who were uneasy, they were all carefully selected disciples after all. Their psychological quality was still up to standard. Suppressing the fear in their hearts and keeping calm was the most basic psychological quality that a disciple should have. Everyone, haven't you always wanted to know who the first disciple of Qingshu College is? I can tell you now, Shang Guanhong said in a clear voice. He is His Majesty, the Heavenly Dynasty Empire's Heavenly Emperor, the renowned Ling Xiao, whose might shakes the entire Divine Phoenix continent. And this terrifying battle intent came from senior brother Ling Xiao, who was cultivating there, so there was no need for everyone to panic. Disperse and go back to cultivate. Under the cover of this battle the effect of your cultivation will only be better, so there is no need to worry. It's actually His Majesty, the Celestial Emperor, who is cultivating. How terrifying! I heard that His Majesty, the Celestial Emperor, is only a 17-year-old child. There were many people here who came from the Sky Dragon continent, although they had heard of Ling Xiao's name and deeds, and when they started learning how to read, what they had to learn was the name of the Celestial Emperor. Later on, when they practiced martial arts, their masters liked to use the deeds of His Majesty, the Celestial Emperor, as an example. However, he had never seen the true face of His Majesty, the Sky Emperor. Some people even doubted the Celestial Emperor's strength. However, today's scene made them completely recognize reality. Ling Xiao's terror was definitely not a figment of anyone's imagination. Such a terrifying, destructive battle intent could even destroy a divine-grade treasure. Many of the warriors here would not be able to withstand it. This was just the battle intent. If it was an even more powerful attack, how could they withstand it? I heard that Qingshu College, the Heavenly Essence Treasure Pagoda, and the Blackwater Lake were all moved here by His Majesty, the Celestial Emperor. His Majesty, the Celestial Emperor, is a person with great magical powers. Ling Xiao's image was probably the same as the characters in many stories and legends. It was infinitely magnified. However, this was also good. Only when Ling Xiao's image was great enough would these people be more willing to pledge their loyalty to the Heavenly Empire. This was probably the so-called creation of a god. However, Ling Xiao was unaware of the situation outside. He was still wholeheartedly cultivating. The Moon Maiden sat quietly not far away. She scrutinized her man while paying attention to the situation around her. When cultivating at a critical moment, no one could disturb him. He needed a powerful protector. Cold Plum strength was no longer enough to resist the Golden Crow battle intent. Therefore, Cold Plum very cleverly chose to go into seclusion as well. This time, she was of limited help to Ling Xiao in killing Long Lin. This made her feel dissatisfied. Therefore, she wanted to become stronger. In addition, Long Qin, Haim Miankeo, and Wuya Lan Yu, Dai Yuling and Dai Yaoling also chose to go into seclusion. Shang Guanhong had to take care of his sister for a few days. However, he also had to go into seclusion soon. The Blackwater Lake was of great help to them. They had to take this opportunity to improve their strength. Furthermore, this incident had made them feel even more threatened. They knew very well that the further they went, the stronger the enemies Ling Xiao would face. If they could not become stronger, they could only leave Ling Xiao's side. Otherwise, they would be a burden. Although Lan Yu, Dai Yuling, Dai Yaoling, and Yingwia were almost unable to keep up. After all, Ling Xiao's cultivation speed was too terrifying. However, they still wanted to work hard to get closer to Ling Xiao. Feng Minglian was still under house arrest. She was imprisoned by Feng Mingxiao in the Ice Phoenix clan's secret realm. For the time being, her life was not in danger. She could also cultivate. Therefore, Feng Minglian was also working hard. She wanted to break free from her mother's shackles and find a world that truly belonged to her. Ling Xiao's enemies and opponents were also working hard to cultivate. Needless to say, Ji Huangtian, Zhong Yu, and Huang Quan, even Feng Yinshan temporarily gave up on scheming and went into seclusion. The battle in killing Long Lin had touched him greatly. He originally thought that his cultivation was strong enough and that all he needed was wisdom. However, after that battle, he suddenly understood that all schemes and tricks were weak in the face of great strength. Therefore, he had to become stronger. Not only did he have to maintain his advantage over Ling Xiao, but he also had to surpass Feng Mingqi Mountain and become the most dazzling star in the Dragon Phoenix selection. At that time, the Imperial Emperor's election should be in his grasp. Other than him, Feng Mingwu's sons were also cultivating. Their father's death made them feel pain and hatred. They turned all of this into strength and worked hard. Since the enemy was working so hard, how could Ling Xiao not work hard? 60%, 70%, 80%, 90%, 100%. When 100% of the Golden Crow's fighting spirit was released, Ling Xiao's entire body was completely wrapped in golden light. His eyes turned golden as if he was about to be possessed by something. The reason why he dared to do this was because his cultivation and soul power had increased. Secondly, it was because he had a powerful protector by his side. With the Moon Maiden protecting him, he could naturally be so willful. Chapter 1509. The Moon Maiden released her battle intent to suppress the Golden Crow's battle intent. A strange scene appeared in the sky. The sun and the moon appeared at the same time. This caused the disciples in the academy to exclaim in surprise, "Wow, this Golden Crow's battle intent is really powerful. Even I can't suppress it anymore." The Moon Maiden could feel how terrifying the Golden Crow's battle intent was. During the Primordial War, she had teamed up with the Golden Crow, so she knew how powerful it was. However, he did not expect that after such a long time, the condensed fighting spirit would still be so terrifying. She had to use all her strength to suppress it. "My dear man, you have to fuse with it quickly. Otherwise, even I won't be able to suppress this violent monster." The Moon Maiden looked at Ling Xiao lovingly and thought to herself, "Of course." She wouldn't say it out loud. No matter how hard it was, she didn't want to affect Ling Xiao's cultivation. It was enough for her to bear it alone. At this moment, Ling Xiao's eyes were tightly shut and his mind was completely focused. In his soul, there was only the word cultivation. In his soul realm, a small golden crow floated there, but it was resisting with an unbelievable will. Ling Xiao wanted to suppress it, but his soul was burned by the terrifying heat. However, the more it was like this, the more excited Ling Xiao was. It was already so terrifying before the fusion. If he could completely fuse with the Golden Crow's battle intent, how terrifying would his cultivation be? It was terrifying just thinking about it. The Golden Crow's battle intent was resisting, but it couldn't do much with the Moon Maiden suppressing it. Ling Xiao began to slowly devour the battle intent. From the beginning, the outcome was already decided. It was just that the powerful Golden Crow's battle intent was unwilling to accept the outcome. After a long time, Ling Xiao slowly opened his eyes. At that moment, 2 dazzling rays of golden light shot out from his eyes. This golden light contained an extremely terrifying, destructive fighting spirit. Boom! Boom! 2 loud sounds were heard. One came from the mountain peak opposite him. It was flattened by a ray of golden light. The other sound came from the Moon Maiden. She blocked the terrifying golden light, but she was forced back half a step. Although the suppression of the Golden Crow battle spirit had caused her to be weaker, the fact that the golden light was able to push her back was a little too terrifying. This powerful, destructive fighting spirit seemed to want to burn everything in front of it to ashes. The Moon Lady looked at Ling Xiao quietly. At this time, the Golden Crow shadow behind Ling Xiao had completely materialized. It was constantly flapping its wings, as if it was a living ancient golden crow. It actually made her feel an enormous pressure. "It looks like the fusion is complete. I didn't expect it to take less than 2 hours." Moon Maiden chuckled and shook her head. This guy Ling Xiao, he didn't know what was so strange about his body. No matter how terrifying something was, he could actually fuse it with his body. She thought of the mountain river martial spirit, but she didn't think so. She had seen the human king's mountain river martial spirit before. It was an all-embracing king's aura. The sea could contain hundreds of rivers, and it was big enough to contain everything. However, Ling Xiao's martial spirit emitted a strong and domineering aura. It felt completely different. Of course, she didn't know that Ling Xiao had already embarked on a completely different path from the human king. The human king was the path of a king. Ling Xiao planned to walk the path of a tyrant. His martial spirit had also changed from the all-embracing mountain river martial spirit to the all-engulfing heavenly martial spirit. The disciples of Qingshu College walked out again. The scene of the mountain peak being flattened was too shocking. They looked into the distance in horror. In the sky, the originally illusory giant golden crow had now become almost tangible. The terrifying heat radiated out, as if a red sun had fallen on the earth. Many people felt their mouths and tongues go dry. They felt uncomfortable all over. Withdraw! As Ling Xiao muttered, the surrounding heat was completely absorbed by the golden crow. The originally hot weather instantly became cool and even a little cold. It's too terrifying. I've never heard of the golden crow battle intent being used like this. Shang Guanhong couldn't help but shiver. The ground had already started to freeze, and he was still wearing a short-sleeved shirt. After all, it was too hot just now. He had never thought of absorbing the surrounding heat to make himself stronger, and at the same time inflicting cold damage to the enemy in a way that he could not even imagine. If he hadn't seen Ling Xiao cultivating there with his own eyes, he probably wouldn't have believed that this terrifying golden crow actually came from Ling Xiao. Even the Moon Maiden was shocked by Ling Xiao's improvement, let alone him. Being able to completely materialize the battle intent was something that many warriors wanted to do, but couldn't do. This included Yin-Yang realm warriors. Many people had tried many times, but they all ended in failure. However, Ling Xiao had actually done it. He had done it right in front of her eyes. Just how terrifying was this brat? Sister Moon Maiden, why do you seem injured? At this moment, Ling Xiao's voice suddenly sounded. It's nothing. It's just a small injury. The Moon Maiden shook her head. Although she was injured, there was a knowing smile on her face. I did it, right? Although Ling Xiao didn't remember what happened, he knew that when he opened his eyes, he released two terrifying battle intents. Even a Yin-Yang realm warrior would be injured by that battle intent. Without saying anything else, he grabbed the Moon Maiden's hand with a sneer and began to treat her injuries. At this moment, the Moon Maiden was like an obedient little wife. She collapsed on Ling Xiao's body and accepted the gentle care of her little man. You broke through in your cultivation? Asked the Moon Maiden. Yes, I reached the 10th Grotto Heaven realm in one go. This golden crow battle intent is really powerful. I feel that there's still a lot of power that hasn't been completely digested. Ling Xiao nodded. The breakthrough this time could be described as advancing by leaps and bounds. He went from the peak of the 7th Grotto Heaven realm to the 8th Grotto Heaven realm, 9th Grotto Heaven realm, and directly to the 10th Grotto Heaven realm. However, Ling Xiao also knew that this rapid improvement caused his cultivation to be very unstable. His next task was no longer to pursue the improvement of his cultivation, but to work hard to consolidate his current cultivation. Only by improving steadily and step by step could one's cultivation become more stable and reliable. Of course, the improvement of his cultivation was only one aspect. The most important thing was that he had already comprehended the embryonic form of the 11 light profound meanings. Now he had completely perfected them. The name of the 11 light profound meanings was the immemorial golden crow. When used, the battle intent of destruction fused with the power of light and completely condensed into the immemorial golden crow. It could be used to fight on its own or to strengthen one's body, or to strengthen one's sword moves. No matter which one it was extremely powerful. Of course, as for how powerful it still needed to be tested in actual combat. In the blink of an eye, a month had passed. There were only a few days left until the Dragon Phoenix selection. The warriors of the various factions were all preparing to come out of seclusion and head to the Divine Phoenix capital. Chapter 1510. The Phoenix Academy had always been the place where the geniuses of the divine Phoenix Empire were born. The 10 great phoenixes all came from the Phoenix Academy. This was also why the Phoenix Academy had always been trying to suppress Qingshu College and become the only top-notch academy on the divine Phoenix continent. However, things did not go as planned. Every time the plan was about to succeed, that fellow would step out and disrupt the plan. Ling Xiao had almost become the nemesis of the Phoenix Academy. This made the entire Divine Phoenix Academy feel very uncomfortable. A mere human from the Heavenly Dragon continent was rejected by the Phoenix Academy and transferred to Qingshu College. At first, everyone thought that this was just a small interlude. However, the nightmare of the Phoenix Academy began on this day. Every time the Phoenix Academy tried to crush this ant, they would be toyed with and humiliated by this ant. Of the 2 vice principals, one was killed and the other had his arm chopped off. The pharmacist that the academy hired with a high salary was also secretly killed by Ling Xiao. All of this caused a deep grudge between Ling Xiao and the Phoenix Academy. The Phoenix Academy wanted to use the glory of the phoenixes to suppress Ling Xiao. However, in the entire Divine Phoenix continent, including the 5 immortal islands, there was probably no one in the same generation as Ling Xiao other than that monster from the celestial island of perpetual joy. Moreover, even that monster could not compare to Ling Xiao in terms of the shocking things he had done. Emptying the city and finally destroying the million-strong army of the Black Crow Empire, single-handedly chasing the enemy for thousands of miles, killing the state teacher of the Black Crow Empire, Timur Mutu, and capturing the prince of the Black Crow Empire, Tomohiko Kuma, killing his way back to the imperial capital, killing the young lord of the Righteous Alliance, destroying the Lightning Demon King, and saving Great General Jining, destroying the demon-suppressing empire, establishing the Celestial Empire, and becoming the Celestial Emperor. First place in the City of Sin's Alchemy Conference, during the battle in Dragon-Slaying Forest. He had even taken in the Peacock Race and Great Rock Race. Furthermore, he had cooperated with his friends to kill Ancestor Ice Phoenix and other Yin-Yang realm experts. Outside Fallen Phoenix City, the subordinates he had just subdued, Peng Nantian and Kong Hao, had even killed the Divine Phoenix Empire's emperor. Phoenix cry immeasurable! After that, Ling Xiao moved Qingshu College and Heaven Essence Pagoda to Fallen Phoenix City overnight. No matter which one it was, they were all soul-stirring. As for matters like killing celebrities like Huangzi and Heavenly Rock Huangzi, they became trivial matters. There were also many things that outsiders didn't know about. The Sacred Dynasty took down the immemorial Golden Crow and the immemorial Heavenly Demon on the Immortal Island, tricked the Ji family, and then repelled the 100 Insects Demon King on the stormy ocean. No matter which battle record it was, he was always much stronger than his peers. Ever since Ling Xiao had come to the Divine Phoenix continent, this era had become his era. In the entire Divine Phoenix continent, if anyone still did not know of Ling Xiao's name, then they were either hidden experts or ignorant. 17 years old, yet he was already on equal footing with some of the senior experts, whether it was strength or status, and his fame was even greater than those senior experts. At this time, Phoenix Academy was brewing a major event that could allow them to completely suppress Qingshu College and cause Ling Xiao to fall from this era. Thunder Eagle Huangzi Tianxia, Vermilion Bird Huangzi Zhuwin, Golden Phoenix Huangzi Wushan, Dark Phoenix Huangzi Dark Current, Snowflake Huangzi Piao Shui, and Python Huangzi Boasheng. There was also a group of other young experts. The one sitting on the dean's seat was no longer the Yin-Yang Demon King, Bian Tianyan, but the Dark Phoenix clan's patriarch, Ming Huang. Ming Huang's expression was cold and ferocious. As the patriarch of the Dark Phoenix clan, he had always been exiled and had no fixed residence. This time, after receiving the invitation of the Fire Phoenix clan's Black and White elders and the Ice Phoenix clan's Feng Ming Xiao, he finally returned to the capital and became the dean of Phoenix Academy. looking at the group of young experts below the stage. He was very dissatisfied. Ling Xiao, a lowly human who grew up in the Sky Dragon continent, you let him live for so long and grow to such a terrifying extent. In the past, any one of the 10 great phoenixes could easily crush him, but you were too arrogant. You looked down on him too much. In the end, it led to the deaths of the Sky Rock Huangzi, Star Huangzi, and Sword Huangzi. It also led to the crippling of the Peacock Huangzi. All of this is the shame of our Phoenix Academy. I want you to remember this shame and destroy Ling Xiao's prestige in the Dragon Phoenix selection. Yes, the voices were neat and loud. However, there were a few people in the crowd who were uneasy. Thunder Eagle Huangzi Tianxia and Vermilion Bird Huangzi Zhu knew how terrifying Ling Xiao was. Once, they went to Qingshu College to cause trouble. At that time, Ling Xiao's cultivation should only be at the 3rd Grotto Heaven realm. However, they were no longer Ling Xiao's match. Just a few days ago, Ling Xiao had killed more than 1,000 people in front of the Killing Dragon Forest. This included 95 Grotto Heaven realm experts. The most terrifying thing was that Ling Xiao had killed the 9th Grotto Heaven realm expert of the Peacock race, Kong Wu. It had also scared Peng Nanyan of the Great Rock race to the point of committing suicide. Although the two of them had broken through in their cultivation, they were only 5th Grotto Heaven realm warriors. Against Ling Xiao, how could they have any chance of winning? 2 useless pieces of trash. How can a mere Ling Xiao scare you to that extent? Don't worry. When the time comes, you can deal with Ling Xiao's subordinates. Leave Ling Xiao to us. The person who spoke was the Python Huangzi, Boasheng. As the 4th Phoenix, his cultivation had reached the half-step Yin-Yang realm, and he possessed 10% Yin-Yang essence force, although this was only the first step to the Yin-Yang realm. However, the half-step Yin-Yang realm was much stronger than the ordinary Grotto Heaven realm. He was confident that with his cultivation, killing Ling Xiao would be a piece of cake. That's right. The opponent of trash should naturally be trash. We will deal with Ling Xiao. Boasheng, you are too strong. I'm afraid you will scare Ling Xiao. Why don't you leave him to me? The person who spoke was Dark Phoenix, Dark Current, ranked 6th among the top 10 phoenixes. His cultivation was at the late stage of the Grotto Heaven realm. The two of you shouldn't underestimate Ling Xiao. Do you really think he won't break through after such a long time? Phoenix Cry frowned and said, Golden Phoenix, have you become a coward? Forget it. If you are afraid, you can choose a few trash as your opponents like those two. When the time comes, we will take Ling Xiao's head and you will know whether we have underestimated Ling Xiao or not. Dark Current said disdainfully, From the beginning to the end, Piao Shui, the 5th-ranked phoenix, did not speak. However, there was a hint of disdain in her eyes. Even though she was in Divine Phoenix Academy, she was incomparably revered that Ling Xiao, who looked down on the world. When will I leave this academy and go to Qingshu College? Piao Shui thought to herself. Almost at the same time, 2 people were fighting in the secret realm of the palace. The sky was filled with afterimages. They were so fast that it was impossible to tell who was fighting. Finally, the 2 afterimages paused for a moment, for palms collided and exploded with shocking destructive power. Behind the 2 of them and under their feet, the ground continued to crack, creating extremely terrifying fissures. Chapter 1511. It was only when the 2 figures came to a stop that he could see their appearances clearly. One was Phoenix Cry Sky Mountain, the eldest son of Phoenix Cry Immeasurable. The other was Mount Fengming, the second son of Phoenix Cry Immeasurable. Elder brother, your overlord fist is getting more and more terrifying. Mount Fengming praised. Second brother, you don't have to be humble. Your benevolent king fist is equally impressive. Phoenix Cry Sky Mountain replied. The 2 looked at each other and smiled. Then, the expressions on their faces instantly turned cold. This time Ling Xiao must die. That's right. Father's revenge must be avenged. Black Crow Empire. Tomohiko Kuma was actually sitting on the throne. His eyes had become cold and deep. His entire person seemed to have completely changed, emitting a strong evil aura. Raven Queen sat at the back and looked at her son. She said indifferently, "You did not hesitate to unseal the Black Crow Empire's Black Crow demonic sword. Your courage is commendable, and your strength has indeed increased tremendously. That's why this king passed the throne to you. This time, you will go to the Divine Phoenix Empire and lead the rest of the fiends to achieve a good result. Of course, the most important thing is to kill Ling Xiao. Mother, don't worry. If I can't kill Ling Xiao after obtaining the ancestral demonic sword, I might as well die happily. Master, your spirit in heaven, just wait for Ling Xiao to be buried with you." Tomohiko Kuma's slightly terrifying eyes flickered with a strange light. "Prepare to set off for the Divine Phoenix Empire, Sacred Dynasty Fairy Island port." Ji Huangtian stood on the giant armored ship and looked coldly into the distance. That was the Divine Phoenix continent, the place where the Dragon Phoenix election was about to begin. That was the place where the glory he pursued was. "Good grandson, don't forget grandfather's revenge." Ji Ruolong sat on a chair at the side. His face still seemed a little haggard, probably because he had not fully recovered from the injuries he received from the Moon Maiden. His hatred for the Moon Lady and Ling Xiao had reached its peak. "Grandfather, don't worry. Grandson's priority is to obtain first place in the Dragon Phoenix selection. After that, I will help you deal with Ling Xiao." From beginning to end, Ji Huangtian's tone was very indifferent, as if Ling Xiao was not in his eyes at all. "All right, your words are enough. All of you listen up. No matter what, you must obtain a better ranking. The Dragon Phoenix selection this time is equivalent to the 5 Immortal Islands Summit. At that time, all the elites under the age of 30 from the Heavenly Dragon Continent, Divine Phoenix Continent, and the nearby islands will participate in the selection." Ji Ruolong glanced at the youths behind Ji Huangtian. Although they weren't as outstanding as Ji Huangtian, they were still stronger than ordinary geniuses. "In this gathering of heroes, if anyone brings shame to our sacred dynasty's immortal island, don't blame this old man for turning hostile. Yes, I will follow the orders of the old island master." On the other side, Zhongyu Netherworld and Zhongyu Permitha of the Permitha Immortal Island also led their group of geniuses out. They also had 2 targets. One was the Dragon Phoenix selection, and the other was Ling Xiao, especially Zhongyu Netherworld. He was now so jealous of Ling Xiao that he wanted to go crazy. When he first met Ling Xiao, that guy was insignificant. He didn't even put that guy in his eyes. If it wasn't for the strength of Cold Plum by Ling Xiao's side and Zhou Yun's interference, he would have killed Ling Xiao. What a pity. At that time, he wasn't able to kill Ling Xiao. Now, that guy had grown into a terrifying opponent. But even so what? Kill. Zhongyu Netherworld suddenly roared. "Senior brother, who are you trying to kill?" Zhongyu Permitha asked. "Ling Xiao, and those who are related to Ling Xiao. This era shouldn't be called Ling Xiao, but the era of Zhongyu Netherworld." Zhongyu Netherworld said coldly. "Well said, but you think too highly of Ling Xiao. Your real opponents in the Dragon Phoenix selection are the top 3 on the Dragon Phoenix list, including Dan Feng from Chang'e Celestial Island, Ji Huangtian from Sacred Dynasty Celestial Island, and Gaoyang Wuqing from Blackwater Celestial Island." To be inconsolable, said coldly. In the past, when Zhongyu was lucky enough to escape from the dragon-slaying forest, he was determined to kill Ling Xiao no matter what. However, compared to killing Ling Xiao, she felt that the most important thing was to let her disciple, Zhongyu Netherworld, get first place in the Dragon Phoenix selection. Island Bishop is right. Zhongyu Netherworld's eyes flickered. The 3 figures appeared in his mind, and his expression became more serious. The young geniuses standing behind Zhongyu Netherworld were also looking forward to this trip. because they knew that the Dragon Phoenix election this time was extraordinary. This was the first grand event that included all the geniuses under the age of 30 from Sky Dragon Continent and Divine Phoenix Continent. Of course, the one who got first place would be able to catch the attention of the sex on White Tiger Continent and be qualified to set foot there. From Divine Phoenix Continent to White Tiger Continent, one must have a martial artist's nameplate given by a sect or force. This nameplate represented one's legal identity in White Tiger Continent. If one did not have it, once one entered White Tiger Continent, one would be expelled or hunted down. One could forget about cultivating there. In the future, no matter which continent one entered, they would have to do this. It would not be as easy as going from Sky Dragon Continent to Divine Phoenix Continent. After all, the further one went, the greater the freedom of the laws, and the easier it would be to cultivate. Everyone wanted to go, so how could it be possible? Therefore, one had to get a ranking. If one really could not get a ranking, it would be beneficial for one's future cultivation to see other geniuses and experts and broaden one's horizons. It was not a bad thing. Of course, they wanted to go. Actually, it was not just these major forces and large sections. At the same time, small countries, small sects, and martial artists without sects all over Sky Dragon Continent and Divine Phoenix Continent also rushed toward Divine Phoenix Imperial Capital one after another. The Dragon Phoenix election was absolutely a golden opportunity for carps to leap over the Dragon Gate. No one wished to waste such an opportunity. Everyone hoped to be able to leap over the Dragon Gate and become a flood dragon. And participating in the selection this time, the only requirement was to be below 30 years old and have a cultivation of Deva Realm and above. Regarding these, Ling Xiao was naturally very clear. He was also looking forward to the Dragon Phoenix selection this time. It was just that Fallen Phoenix City was very close to Divine Phoenix Imperial Capital. He was not in a hurry to leave. The current him, his cultivation already stabilized at Grotto Heaven Realm 10th Realm cultivation. But to completely digest the primordial Golden Crow battle intent, it still needed a very long period of time. This was not something that could be resolved in a hurry. As for the primordial Empyrean Devil battle intent, he was not in a hurry to fuse. The main thing was that he was afraid that after fusing, it would result in the two types of battle intents not being pure enough. That would be troublesome. Therefore, what he needed to do now was to make his Golden Crow battle intent pure enough. After a period of time, releasing the primordial Empyrean Devil battle intent would be twice the result with half the effort. It would be very easy. Moreover, he also had another idea, and that was to use the primordial Empyrean Devil battle intent to break through to Yin Yang Realm cultivation. Although he had once obtained the 9 deaths reincarnation technique, he did not dare to guarantee whether that thing would be effective or not. If he died and could not be revived, that would be foolish. Therefore, it was very unwise to pin all his hopes on that. Chapter 1512. While Ling Xiao was wholeheartedly cultivating, and many people were rushing to the Divine Phoenix Imperial Capital in excited moods, a piece of news spread rapidly. The rules of the Dragon Phoenix selection have changed. Changed? What's going on? Actually, it's not a big change either. The main thing is that the martial artists participating in the Dragon Phoenix selection are restricted in strength. Originally, as long as one's cultivation is above Deva Realm and below 30 years old, it's fine. But now, the lowest cultivation must be 3rd, Grotto Heaven Realm. What? Isn't this too sudden? How can there be so many Grotto Heaven Realm experts? Even below 30 years old? Might as well not hold it. You don't understand this, right? Ever since the Mountain River martial soul appeared, the cultivation of the younger generation has improved very quickly, far surpassing the expectations of the Dragon Phoenix selection's organizers. The last-minute change in the rules this time is also because there are too many people. There's no need to let everyone participate. That seems to make some sense too. But we're depressed. We just broke through to the Grotto Heaven Realm with great difficulty and thought that we could show off our grand plans in this election. Who could have expected that it would actually be such a result? Actually, not being selected might not be a bad thing. One has to know this Dragon Phoenix election in the first place is to prepare for participating in the White Tiger Continent's White Tiger Tempest meet. I heard that the White Tiger Continent's Grotto Heaven Realm martial artists are about the same as our Divine Phoenix Continent's Deva Realm martial artists. With our cultivation, I'm afraid that we'll also lose face if we go. Although I'm not reconciled, it seems to make sense. Similar conversations like this sounded out from all over the Divine Phoenix Continent from time to time, although it made many martial artists feel disappointed. Everyone could actually guess it. Fortunately, the Dragon Phoenix election allowed spectators. Therefore, those martial artists who rushed over from afar also did not have to worry about making a trip in vain. Witnessing this era's most outstanding geniuses was similarly satisfying too. This news naturally spread to Fallen Phoenix City as well. Ling Xiao was currently discussing with Feng Qingyan who to bring to participate in the Dragon Phoenix selection. Originally, they were vexed because there were too many people. Once this rule came down, the 2 people became relaxed instead. Although the Heavenly Dynasty Empire was filled with talents, those whose true cultivation had reached the 3rd Grotto Heaven realm and above were still not many. Ling Xiao made a list and found that those who met the requirements were him, Long Chen, Shang Guanhong, Cold Plum, Hai Mianko, the peerless genius Ling Luo sent by the Heavenly Dragon Academy, and the military representatives Hua Fuguang and Hua Luiying. There were 8 people in total. Lan Yu-er's cultivation had just broken through to the 2nd Grotto Heaven realm, so she definitely couldn't do it. Ying Wuya, Dai Yaoling, and Dai Yuling were only at the 1st Grotto Heaven realm, so they were not qualified. Therefore, these 8 people were the final name list. After all, the Heavenly Dynasty Empire was just a new empire. Although there were many Grotto Heaven realm martial artists, most of them were over 30 years old. Only these 8 people truly met the requirements. What was worth mentioning was Ling Luo. This was Ling Zhao's younger brother. Although he wasn't her biological brother, she recognized him as her god-brother when they were beggars. After those family members died, tragically, only Ling Luo was left. For such a long time, Ling Xiao had been busy with all kinds of things and did not have time to care about Ling Luo. But he never forgot about all kinds of medicinal pills, cultivation methods, and secret manuals. It was precisely because of this that Ling Luo's talent, which was originally not considered outstanding, was forcefully raised by Ling Xiao with all kinds of spirit pills and miraculous medicines. Now his cultivation already broke through to the 4th Grotto Heaven realm, even more powerful than Lan Yu-er. Right now, many people were envious that Ling Luo had such a good older brother. Otherwise, it was absolutely impossible for him to grow to this extent today. Set off tomorrow. Head for the Divine Phoenix Imperial Capital. Choosing the people to participate in the Dragon Phoenix election, Ling Xiao started cultivating again. And Lan Yu-er and the rest who missed the opportunity this time would also follow to the Divine Phoenix Imperial Capital to witness this grand event. After all, such a selection was likely very hard to see again. This was a very special occasion. Actually, there were many people who thought the same as them. Since a few days ago, a large number of martial artists rushed to the Divine Phoenix Imperial Capital in advance. Although the Imperial Capital was very large, the accommodation was still limited. Therefore, the Imperial family issued an order that martial artists entering the Imperial Capital, the lowest cultivation had to be 9th Firmament Deva realm. This way, a large number of martial artists were blocked outside the door. Fortunately, the mystic world had its own special technology. Making use of the power of laws, it could transmit the projection of the selection venue throughout the entire Divine Phoenix continent, all places that could receive the power of laws. This way, although they could not watch the battle live, they would also not miss this grand event. The place where the Dragon Phoenix election was held was precisely the Killing Dragon Forest that Ling Xiao went to in the past. Because there was an array barrier here, even if the battle was more intense, it would also not affect the lives of the imperial capital's commoners. Furthermore, the area that this place occupied was very large and could accommodate even more spectators to watch the battle. On the day that the Dragon Phoenix election started, the radius of several dozen miles around Killing Dragon Forest was filled with a dense mass of people. Fortunately, these were all martial artists and possessed vision that surpassed mortals. Otherwise, standing several dozen miles away, what could they still see? Of course, there were also martial artists who were smarter. When they really could not squeeze in, they simply took out a magic treasure that could receive the projection of the power of laws and hid in the inn, eating and watching the show. It was also a kind of enjoyment. At this time, the noisy crowd emitted a sound that resembled the buzzing of flies. They were all discussing and debating. After all, to these people who did not have the qualifications to participate, arguing about which geniuses could stand out in this Dragon Phoenix election was also a way to participate. Of course, they could only debate and not fight. In the sky, the righteous divine guards were in charge of guarding. If anyone dared to cause trouble below, they would immediately be expelled from the city. At this time, the power of the righteous divine guards could be seen. Originally, they should be doing this and not helping a certain monarch to kill other martial artists. Time slowly passed. Everyone was anticipating the arrival of night. Waiting was always very unbearable. The Dragon Phoenix election officially started at 7:00 in the mystic world. This kind of time was a method that had recently become popular and came from the distant divine secrets continent. Because it was convenient, it quickly replaced the Divine Phoenix Empire's original method of time. At this time, it was only 3:00, and it was still early in the morning. But in order to occupy a better position, these people had been waiting here long ago. Anyway, martial artists' energy was generally very good and did not care too much about this. At most, they would just sit there cross-legged and meditate for a while to recover. However, a few hours of waiting was still very long. When the sun rose from the east and it was close to 7:00, even the discussion suddenly became much softer. Everyone's eyes were all cast in the same direction. Kill the Dragon Forest. Soon, the Dragon Phoenix election that they had been anticipating for a long time would be held in this vast forest. They're here. Suddenly, someone shouted. From the void in the sky, several figures flew over together. Some were flying in the air. Some were riding on flying beasts. The person in the lead was riding on a jet-black phoenix. His gaze was cold and his aura was powerful. Anyone who approached him could feel the terrifying aura that overflowed from his body. After this group of people arrived, they directly sat down. There was a flag that fluttered in the wind, and the words Phoenix Academy were written on it. Chapter 1513. The first to arrive at the dragon-slaying forest was the Phoenix Academy. After all, they were in the capital, so it would be inappropriate for them to be late. The person leading them was the new president of the Phoenix Academy, Ming Huang. Beside him was the vice president, Feng Ming Wanchong, as well as the participating Phoenix Sons. Amazing, as expected of the top academy in the Divine Phoenix Empire. There are so many participants this time. Seeing the Phoenix Academy's heavenly team that had just arrived, the crowd became restless. Python Phoenix's Sun Python Life, Snow Phoenix's Sun Feng Ming Piao Shui, Dark Phoenix's Sun Ming Hailu, Golden Phoenix's Sun Feng Ming Wushan, Thunder Eagle's Sun Ing Tianxia, and Vermilion Bird's Sun Zhuwen. 6 participants, that's quite a lot. I heard that the Phoenix Academy didn't let the other 3rd Grotto Heaven Realm practitioners participate because they felt that it would be embarrassing, so they chose these 6 people. That's not right. I heard that the 1st ranked Phoenix Sun is also in the Phoenix Academy. Why isn't he here? Someone asked in confusion. He will definitely come. He won't miss such a grand event. Someone mumbled to himself. Perhaps it was a kind of anticipation. That person had just joined the Phoenix Academy and replaced the 1st ranked Phoenix Sun, Qishan, as the 1st Phoenix Sun. He should be worthy of his reputation. Look, the imperial family is here too. There was no problem with the imperial family and the Phoenix Academy participating separately. Although everyone knew that the Phoenix Academy belonged to the imperial family, they still had to be separated on the surface. Phoenix Cry Sky Mountain, Mount Fengming, and the two princes, Feng Yinshan and Feng Mingqishan. Who's that girl? Everyone saw Feng Minglian and felt that she was unfamiliar. I don't know. That's Feng Minglian, the daughter of the current Ice Phoenix clan's leader, Feng Mingxiao. She was supposed to be betrothed to the celebrity, Phoenix Sun, but that Ji Mingxing was killed by Ling Xiao. No wonder. But is she qualified to participate? It shouldn't be a problem. Otherwise, the royal family wouldn't have sent her out. The royal family's lineup this time is also very strong. Although there aren't many people, except for Feng Minglian, they should all be elites. Someone else has arrived. It's someone from the Black Crow Empire. Perhaps it was because the grand meeting was about to begin, so more and more cultivators arrived at the dragon-slaying forest. The Raven Queen personally led the team into the venue prepared for the Black Crow Empire. It seems like Raven Queen doesn't look too good. Nonsense! The Raven Queen almost died in the battle of the Kill Dragon Forest. It would be strange if she was happy. Look, there are only 5 of the 7 malefic stars left. The other 2 were also killed by Ling Xiao. Why does everything seem to involve Ling Xiao? It can't be helped. Ling Xiao is the pride of this era. Many people want him dead, but they can't do it. Yes, not being envied by others is mediocre. However, many geniuses died prematurely because they were too flamboyant. Only Ling Xiao is really powerful. Not only did he not die, but he has also become stronger. The legend of Ling Xiao had long been spread in the underworld. If the storytellers in the tea houses and wine shops did not know about Ling Xiao's deeds, they would definitely be laughed at by the customers. After the Black Crow Empire, the Permetha Fairy Island, the Sacred Dynasty Fairy Island, the Changle Fairy Island, the Canopy Fairy Island, the Black Water Fairy Island, and the remaining 5 islands of the 7 Martial Grandmaster Island had also sent cultivators. In addition to them, even the Dark Divine Hall and the 5 Poison Hall had sent people this time. The Water Sacred Hall had also sent people. As for the purpose of these people coming here, it was self-evident. They were not here for the ranking of the Dragon Phoenix selection. They were here to kill Ling Xiao. This was because outsiders were not allowed to interfere in the battle during the Dragon Phoenix selection. In this way, it would be meaningless even if Ling Xiao had powerhouses like the Moon Maiden and the demonic liquor sword by his side. When the event was about to begin, Qingshu College arrived late. There doesn't seem to be any seats for us. Ling Xiao looked around and saw that Qingshu College had not arranged a place in the huge dragon-slaying forest. Ling Xiao couldn't help but frown slightly at this. At this time, someone actually dared to give him a hard time. He had to admire this person's courage. "I'm sorry, Your Highness Moon Maiden. You came too late, so all the places have been taken. Why don't you just find a place to settle down? You won't miss the selection anyway." The 5 island masters of the 5 Fairy Island were in charge of leading the Dragon Phoenix selection. The one who spoke was Ji Ruolong of the Sacred Dynasty's Fairy Island. Haha, in that case, the Sacred Dynasty's Fairy Island can find a place to settle down. Give your seats to Qingshu College. The Moon Maiden sneered and suddenly erupted with a terrifying pressure, making all the disciples of the Sacred Dynasty's Fairy Island who came to participate in the competition tremble in fear. Although Ji Huangtian's performance was not as bad as the other disciples, he was also extremely uncomfortable. "Moon Maiden, you've gone too far," Ji Ruolong roared angrily. "Yes, I'm bullying you. So what? Wouldn't it be fine if we arranged a place for you earlier? Why did you have to embarrass yourself? Get lost." The Moon Maiden said coldly. Ji Ruolong was so angry that his whole body was trembling. He really regretted being the first to stand out and make an enemy out of Qingshu College. Wasn't he just asking for trouble? "All right, both of you, don't be angry. Island Master Ji was just joking with Her Highness Moon Maiden. Qingshu College's seats have already been prepared. At that moment, a cold voice sounded. That voice attracted everyone's attention. Ling Xiao turned his head and saw a flag hanging there with the words Black Water Fairy Island written on it. He did not know much about the Black Water Fairy Island. He only knew that it was the only faction among the 5 immortal islands that could compete with the Chang'e Immortal Island and was very powerful. Of course, he also knew that Gao Yangjun, who had almost killed his senior brother Wu Xiang, had also joined the Black Water Fairy Island. During the battle in Shendu, the Black Water Fairy Island had also interfered. Although they had never met, the conflict had already arisen. It was just that it was not as obvious as the other factions. That's not how you joke. Ji Ruolong, didn't you hear me? I told you to get lost. The Moon Maiden's voice was cold and merciless. She was furious when she thought about how those bastards had tried to kill her in the Slaying Dragon Forest. The Black Water Fairy Island Master was stunned. He did not expect the Moon Maiden to not give him any face. However, at that moment, he chose to remain silent. He knew how terrifying the Moon Maiden was. There was no need to fall out with the Moon Maiden because of Ji Ruolong. Ji Ruolong was embarrassed to the extreme. He would not be able to raise his head in front of the entire Divine Phoenix continent and Sky Dragon continent if he really got lost. However, if he did not get lost, he would die. When he thought about Ancestor Ice Phoenix and Dan Yin Sheng, his heart twitched violently. Since Her Highness Moon Maiden likes this place, I don't mind giving it to you. Let's go. Ji Ruolong found a way out for himself. However, anyone with a discerning eye could tell that he was afraid. Although some people sympathized with him, they also felt that he had asked for it. Why did you provoke others for no reason? You can't blame others for finding trouble with you. Chapter 1514. Qingshu College students took their seats. Ji Ruolong led the Sacred Dynasty's island martial artists to another place. As soon as he sat down, he spat out a mouthful of blood. Kill him. You must kill that Ling Xiao. I want that Moon Maiden to taste the greatest pain in this world. Ji Ruolong roared in a low voice. Don't worry, grandfather. A cold light flashed in the corner of Ji Huangtian's eyes. If Ling Xiao didn't die, he wouldn't have the face to face his grandfather today. It was 7:00 in the Mystic World time. The morning sun in the sky was very dazzling. The gentle light made the anxiously waiting audience nervous again. It was finally time for the Dragon Phoenix selection. Suddenly, a phoenix cry came from afar, attracting everyone's attention. Everyone, including the participants and the audience, looked at the place where the phoenix cry came from. Oh my God! Many people were so surprised that they felt like they were about to suffocate. A phoenix. A true pure-blooded phoenix. It was much more powerful and domineering than the phoenix they usually saw. Scarlet feathers and rainbow-colored phoenix feathers. Its huge body floated in the sky, radiating a blazing light in all directions. It was like a divine beast that walked out from ancient times. That clear cry caused countless rare birds and beasts to lower their heads. Only the silver moon greedy wolf beside the Moon Maiden was still yawning in boredom. As if all of this had nothing to do with it, there was a person sitting on top of the phoenix, and beside him stood 2 women wearing scarlet feathers. Each of them exuded a powerful and terrifying aura. Greetings, Alliance Master! All of a sudden, Ji Ruolong, Forefather Chang'e, Gao Yangwui, Zhu Tianlin, and Zhong Yujingju, the Island Master of the Blackwater Immortal Island. All of a sudden, the Island Master of the Black Immortal Island, Gao Yangwui, the Island Master of the Canopy Immortal Island, and the Island Master of the Permethai Immortal Island, Zhong Yujingju, as well as the various Island Masters of Martial Zhong Island, Black Crow Empire's Crow Queen, Divine Phoenix Empire's Monarch Black, and White Elders. All of them actually knelt down and kowtowed to this person, looking extremely respectful. This scene left many martial artists dumbstruck. Alliance Master? What Alliance Master? Most people had no idea where this Alliance Master came from or what his identity was. However, When he saw all these important figures kneeling and kowtowing to the Alliance Master, he couldn't help but feel terrified. This person was definitely extraordinary. Rise, all of you. The person sitting there smiled faintly and gently waved his hand. The few important people kneeling on the ground were actually lifted up by him. This kind of unintentional display of terrifying strength was truly astonishing, especially since it was a young woman's voice. It was even more surprising. The Dragon Phoenix election is really surprising. Even such a powerful warrior has appeared. He probably doesn't even bother to come out normally. Although people didn't know this woman, they knew that she was a hidden expert. She was probably even stronger than the Moon Maiden. The huge phoenix did not descend and was still floating in the sky. The woman sitting there had her face covered by a veil, making it impossible to see her appearance. However, her powerful aura was enough to make countless people submit, and they did not even have the courage to resist her. The Dragon Phoenix election this time concerns the honor and safety of the Divine Phoenix continent and Sky Dragon continent. That is why I have come out. The Alliance Master's voice was light and pleasant to the ears. However, there was an irresistible majesty in this lightness. As everyone knows, the Five Immortals gathering in the past has been changed to the White Tiger continent and is now called the White Tiger Tempest Meet. This is the White Tiger continent's coercion and also a test. If you can't achieve good enough results in the White Tiger Tempest Meet, then they can bypass the restraints of the laws and invade our Divine Phoenix continent and Sky Dragon continent en masse. There's actually such an inside story. Ling Xiao frowned. He originally thought that the White Tiger Tempest Meet was just a selection of geniuses. He did not expect that it was directly related to the safety of the Divine Phoenix continent and Sky Dragon continent. If that was the case, he had to achieve good results even more. After all, the Sky Dragon continent and Divine Phoenix continent were already in his plans. He could not let others snatch them away. At that moment, the Alliance Master's voice sounded again. Indeed, the White Tiger Tempest Meet is filled with danger, but it's also filled with hope. This is a gathering of the top young geniuses of the White Tiger continent. If any of you can stand out, then you will definitely be chosen by the major factions of the White Tiger continent. Your future is limitless. It can be said that advancing to the Yin-Yang realm is just around the corner. In the future, at the very least, you can become an overlord of the Divine Phoenix continent. These words were not false. Even if one's cultivation was only at the first level of the Yin-Yang realm, they would definitely be among the top experts in the Divine Phoenix continent. Not to mention, there were even fewer Yin-Yang realm experts in the Sky Dragon continent. Also, if our geniuses are lucky enough to achieve good results in the top 3, then the power of laws in the Sky Dragon continent and Divine Phoenix continent will weaken. In the future, cultivation will be easier and the level of improvement will be higher. So remember this. The White Tiger Storm gathering this time is of great importance, and the number of people who are qualified to participate is extremely few. I won't send trash to embarrass myself and waste a spot. Of course. Zhong Yu Huangquan sneered and muttered to himself. Ji Huangtian, Dan Feng, Feng Mingqishan, and the others were full of confidence. It was as if they were the ones who should be chosen. At this point, the Alliance Master suddenly tossed out a refining formation stone and started chanting. A moment later, a huge door appeared in the huge, killing dragon forest. In the center of the door, there was a strange energy whirlpool that seemed to lead to a completely different space. This is a teleportation door that leads to an ancient ruin. As long as all martial artists at the 3rd Grotto Heaven realm and above can walk out of the teleportation door, they will pass the first test. The Alliance Master continued. However, I have to remind you that the ancient ruin is extremely dangerous. Once you die, you will really lose your life. If anyone is afraid, you can give up. I will not stop you. Also, the top 10 on the Dragon Phoenix list do not need to enter. Your strength is enough to enter the next stage. Hearing this, Many of the participating martial artists frowned. Many people had never thought of risking their lives to participate in the Dragon Phoenix selection. They advanced to the third Grotto Heaven realm with great difficulty. If they died, wouldn't they lose everything? Thinking of this, close to half of the martial artists actually gave up this opportunity. Of course, the majority were martial artists who had just advanced to the third Grotto Heaven realm. To them, rather than taking the risk, it was better to preserve their strength. This was also considered a wiser choice. Of course, the people who were willing to participate in the first test still occupied the majority. These people were very confident and all wanted to achieve better results in the test. It's a pity that we can't kill Ling Xiao with our own hands. Ji Huangtian sighed and shook his head helplessly. There was only one teleportation door in the ancient ruin. That meant that those martial artists had to go in together. And there were many people who wanted to kill Ling Xiao. Chapter 15:15. Senior brother, leave it to me to kill that Ling Xiao. The one who spoke was the second-ranked expert among the young warriors of the sacred dynasty Immortal Island. He was no longer on the Dragon Phoenix list, but his strength was still tyrannical. Tianming, it's been hard on you. Be careful and stay with the other participants. That Ling Xiao is very cunning. Ji Huangtian reminded him. Don't worry, senior brother. Ji Tianming smiled and said, Our sacred dynasty Immortal Island has more than 20 participants. That Ling Xiao's Qingshu College only has 8 people. I'll kill the others first before killing Ling Xiao. Just like the sacred dynasty Immortal Island, Zhongyu Huangquan couldn't make a move on the opposite shore Immortal Island side. He could only leave Ling Xiao to Zhongyu Huangquan, who was slightly weaker than him, and the other disciples. Their number of warriors who had stepped into the door of the relic had reached 20. The 5 Immortal Islands were basically of the same scale. No one was willing to be less than the other. The Black Crow Empire had fewer people. They were led by Tomohiko Kuma. There were only 5 people in total, but they were all elites. Other than Tomohiko Kuma, the other 4 were all part of the 7 malignant stars. Only the first malignant star, He Yanbing, was in the top 10 of the Dragon Phoenix list, so he wasn't qualified to enter the door of the relic. On the Imperial family side, only Phoenix Cry Mountain, Mount Fengming, and Fengminglian could enter the door of the relic. Of course, if the Dark Current and Phoenix Cry Wushan of the Phoenix Academy were included, there were 5 people. Phoenix Cry Mountain and Fengyin Shan were in the top 10 of the Dragon Phoenix list. Naturally, they couldn't enter the door of the relic. The rules to pass the test are very simple. This door of the relic leads to the Heavenly Devil Forbidden Land. There are heavenly devils left in the mystic world from the ancient times. However, you can rest assured that the strongest of these heavenly devils won't exceed the Yin-Yang realm. Of course, the weakest will not be weaker than the 3rd Grotto Heaven realm. Everyone only needed to kill 10 Sky Fiends or eliminate 10 competitors to pass the test. Don't be surprised. Only blood and slaughter can stimulate your potential. Like I said before, you might die if you enter, not only because of the heavenly demons, but also because of your competitors. Hearing this, many people looked at Ling Xiao. The ultimate goal of many practitioners from the sacred dynasties Immortal Island, Prometheus Immortal Island, Black Crow Empire, and Divine Phoenix Empire was to eliminate Ling Xiao. This was naturally an excellent opportunity. However, Ling Xiao's face remained indifferent. It was as if he had expected all of this. In fact, he was using his soul power to transmit his voice to his companions. After we go in, we'll probably be forcibly separated. If we encounter any danger, we'll deal with it ourselves. If we can't, don't get caught up in battle. Quickly find other companions to meet up with. The reason why Ling Xiao had made such an arrangement was because he had also felt the killing intent from the enemy. Since that was the case, he could only make the first move after entering. Understood. Long Chen and the others nodded. All right, let's begin. You may enter the door of the ruins. The Alliance Master's voice sounded again. Everyone entered one after another. Ling Xiao divided his soul power into 7 portions and injected them into the bodies of his 7 companions. This way, it would be easier to find each other. Let's go. We'll go too. Ling Xiao took the lead and stepped into the door of the ruins. After everyone stepped into the door of the ruins, the scene inside was suddenly displayed on the huge whirlpool. The audience outside could see it clearly. This door of the ruins is really magical. The Alliance Master's strength is indeed shocking. Everyone couldn't help but be secretly shocked. To be able to create such a powerful door of the ruins was already very impressive, not to mention to be able to display the scene inside. As expected, standing alone on the heavenly devil battlefield that reeked of blood, Ling Xiao shook his head helplessly. Just as he expected, everyone was forcibly separated as soon as they entered. Heavenly devil battlefield, interesting. Let's meet up with our companions first. Ling Xiao was very confident and also believed in his companions. However, the cultivation of his companions was uneven. Some were strong, while others were weak, especially his younger brother, Ling Luo, who should be the weakest among the 8 of them. Once they encountered danger, it would be difficult for him to protect himself. It would be fine if they only encountered heavenly devils. If they encountered their enemies, it would be troublesome. Actually, Ling Xiao didn't know that his luck was considered good. After entering the heavenly devil battlefield, he didn't encounter any heavenly devils. However, some people directly appeared where heavenly devils gathered after entering. If they weren't particularly strong or good at escaping, they would be severely injured even if they didn't die. At this moment, the warriors outside had already witnessed 4 or 5 people being killed by heavenly devils the moment they appeared inside. Even their souls were devoured. What was thrown out was just a soulless body. Outside the door of the ruins, cries and roars rose and fell one after another. After all, it wasn't a good feeling to see one's own disciple and family killed. Perhaps understanding this feeling, the Alliance Master didn't say anything to stop them. He only quietly watched the huge image on the door of the ruins. The clouds were as black as ink, the sky was gloomy, and the space was filled with evil. Even the ground under Ling Xiao's feet was black. The plants were also black. Occasionally one could see a bit of color, but it was blood red. The blood red color appeared even more conspicuous and also made people tremble with fear. This place was definitely an incomparably terrifying and barren space. Everywhere was a terrifying atmosphere that made people breathless. Warriors with slightly smaller guts would probably be scared out of their wits the moment they entered this place. There's actually heavenly devil fighting, intent attacking, continuously. Ling Xiao's soul power clearly felt the heavenly devil fighting, intent attacking from all directions. Of course, these fighting intents were weaker and completely incomparable to the primordial heavenly devil fighting intent in his body. Therefore, he only needed to release a little bit of heavenly devil fighting intent, and he could completely defend against these attacks. However, he could do it, but other warriors couldn't. This was his advantage. Probably even the Alliance Master didn't expect this. Many people knew that Ling Xiao had a powerful golden crow fighting intent because he had used it before. However, they didn't know that his heavenly devil fighting intent was not weaker than the golden crow fighting intent at all. Perhaps it was because it was too spacious, but after walking for a while, he still didn't see a single person. There were only hideous corpses on the ground, as if they were complaining about their encounters. These corpses seemed to have been here for a long time. Looks like the door of the ruins has been opened more than once. Ling Xiao muttered to himself, feeling a little emotional. Many talented youths worked hard in pursuit of a stronger warrior's path, but they died helplessly here. However, this heavenly devil battlefield is a good place for me. In such an environment, the tempering of my heavenly devil fighting intent will be even more powerful. Despite the stifling atmosphere, Ling Xiao still held his head high and walked forward with large strides. The more dangerous the environment, the more worthy it was for him to explore. He guessed that even the Alliance Master probably didn't fully understand the situation of the heavenly devil battlefield. Therefore, there might be some unexpected gains. Chapter 15:16. Ling Xiao didn't dare to fly because there could be danger everywhere. Flying in the sky was equivalent to making himself a target for others. Whoosh! Suddenly, a black shadow shot out from the ground. It was impossible to see its face clearly. It shot towards Ling Xiao at a close distance. The aura of death came straight at him. Destroy! Ling Xiao didn't even look at it. It was only a third Grotto Heaven realm heavenly demon. It was far from his cultivation. He just casually pointed and a red sun all shot out. Boom! Flames raged and the space shook. The heavenly demon was instantly pierced by the red sun all. It burned and turned into ashes. Is this a heavenly demon? It's similar to the one I saw in the Moonlight Pagoda. It's shapeless and can hide anywhere. It can even control humans and animals. It wasn't the first time Ling Xiao saw a heavenly demon. It wasn't the first time he killed one. However, the ones he met before were weaker because of the Moonlight Pagoda's restrictions. The one he met this time was very strong. However, he was much stronger than before, so he was fearless. First one. Ling Xiao muttered to himself. He didn't stop and continued forward. He used his soul power to sense the location of Ling Luo, who had the weakest cultivation. If there wasn't any danger, he would naturally choose to start with the weakest cultivation. As soon as he spread out his soul power, Ling Xiao felt that there were people fighting in front of him. The two auras weren't weak, but they were unfamiliar. They weren't his companions. However, he still planned to go and take a look. If they were enemies, he would eliminate them. He wouldn't sit and wait for others to deal with him. At this time, in this environment, he had to strike first to gain the upper hand. This time, Ling Xiao quickened his pace. Since there was a battle in front, the nearby heavenly demons should have been attracted to it. Therefore, he could be slightly faster. After a while, he arrived at an open space in front of him. At this time, there were two 6th Grotto Heaven realm martial artists fighting with a heavenly demon of similar strength. The heavenly demon was too strange. Coupled with the influence of the heavenly demon fighting intent, the two martial artists were actually unable to gain the upper hand. The energy shot out in all directions, and the ground was cut into many potholes. A small hill nearby was also directly flattened. They seemed to be warriors from the sacred dynasty's immortal island. Ling Xiao's lips curled into a cold smile. Senior brother, look, isn't that Ling Xiao? One of them was a woman who was about 24 years old. Perhaps because it was easier for the two of them to fight together, she actually had the time to look into the distance. With a glance, he saw Ling Xiao standing there. Ling Xiao didn't hide. Instead, he walked over. There's a path to heaven, but he doesn't want to take it. There's no door to hell, but he insists on barging in. He's using a concealment technique. The senior martial brother sneered. Their concealment secret technique could only maintain the sealed world time for 10 seconds, which could quickly cause the monsters to lose sight of them. But the time was too short, so it was useless. Now, Ling Xiao's appearance was just enough to change the target of the heavenly demon. They could take the opportunity to attack Ling Xiao. Senior brother Huang Tian, senior brother Tianming, I'm sorry. Ling Xiao's life is ours. The man was so excited that his eyes were about to pop out. He casually crushed a talisman. Concealment. In that instant, the two disciples from the sacred dynasty's immortal island disappeared without a trace. The heavenly demon roared and changed its target to Ling Xiao. Whoosh! The heavenly demon roared and pounced on Ling Xiao. It seemed that these guys only had the most basic conditioned reflexes and didn't have any intelligence. They couldn't see that Ling Xiao was much stronger than them. Choosing Ling Xiao meant death. The pair of brother and sister who had been hiding in the shadows quickly revealed themselves. 10 seconds passed in the blink of an eye. However, they didn't leave. Instead, they approached Ling Xiao. Their thoughts were simple. They were waiting for Ling Xiao to fight with the heavenly demon before launching a sneak attack. In that case, Even if Ling Xiao was strong enough, he wouldn't be able to avoid the fate of being killed by them. They felt that this plan was perfect. Shameless. Outside the door of the ruins, Dai Yaoling couldn't help but curse. Although she didn't have the qualifications to participate in the Dragon Phoenix election, she could still broaden her horizons. Hee, what's there to be angry about? Ling Xiao won't be cheated by such idiots. Lan Yu smiled. Of course I know, but I'm still angry. The Sacred Dynasty's immortal island. To think that I used to admire them. I didn't expect them to have such shameless disciples. Dai Yaoling gritted her teeth. Since the island master is so shameless, I won't be an exception. Just watch in peace. Ling Xiao will definitely be able to turn the situation around. Dai Yaoling smiled and said, on the other side, the disciples of the Sacred Dynasty's immortal island who came to watch the battle revealed a mocking smile. Ling Xiao dared to offend their Sacred Dynasty's immortal island. After losing the protection of the Moon Lady, this was the result: death. Inside the door of the ruins, Ling Xiao's lips curled into a sneer. He knew very well what those two were thinking. They knew how to hide, and he knew how to do it too. If he wanted to use it, he could use it at any time. However, there was no need to use it to deal with two pieces of trash. He might as well use it to make up the numbers. As long as he killed 10 of them, regardless of whether they were heavenly demons or martial artists, he would pass. Human. A fresh human. A human full of fragrance. The heavenly demon seemed to be very interested in Ling Xiao's flesh. Perhaps it was because Ling Xiao had fused with the ancient golden dragon's bloodline, so the meat was more delicious. This guy's speed was very fast. A black light appeared and instantly arrived in front of Ling Xiao. He felt that his speed was much faster than martial artists of the same level. No wonder the 2 martial artists of the Sacred Dynasty's immortal island had to join forces to tie with him. The distance was only 3 meters. A sword suddenly appeared in Ling Xiao's hand. It was just pure ice fury. He didn't use any enhancement. Then, holding the sword with both hands, he slashed down. Because the heavenly demon was too fast, it didn't have time to dodge and was directly split in half. The 2 Sacred Dynasty's immortal island martial artists who were approaching Ling Xiao were shocked and stopped in their tracks. No way. Could the rumors be true? Ling Xiao is even stronger than a 9th Grotto Heaven realm martial artist? I thought it was just a rumor. Let's go, we are not his match. The 2 senior brother and junior sister were still quite tactful. Once they saw the situation, they knew that they were definitely not Ling Xiao's match. How could they dare to stay any longer? At this moment, the 2 halves of the heavenly demon, after passing through Ling Xiao's body, merged together and suddenly attacked Ling Xiao from behind. Your vitality is quite tenacious, but it's a pity that it's useless. Ling Xiao turned around and struck out with his sword. This strike contained some of the power of the red sun. The heavenly demon's body was split open again. However, this time, the moment it was split open, it burned and let out a shrill scream of horror. There was no chance of resurrection at all. Chapter 1517. The heavenly demon's shrill screams sent chills down the spines of the 2 disciples of the Sacred Dynasty's island who were running away. Since you want to kill me, are you still planning to escape? Ling Xiao's voice was like a ghost's voice, ringing in the ears of the 2 disciples of the Sacred Dynasty's island. Then they felt a stabbing pain in their chests and instantly lost consciousness. So strong! Is this Ling Xiao? It seems that the rumors are true. Outside the ruins, many martial artists were actually doubtful of Ling Xiao's strength. They did not believe the legend of the dragon-slaying forest at all. However, they had to believe it when they saw this scene. At the very least, Ling Xiao could instantly kill 2 6th Grotto Heaven realm martial artists. That was definitely not something an ordinary person could do. Bastard! The martial artists of the Sacred Dynasty's island gnashed their teeth, wishing they could cut Ling Xiao into pieces. Haha, that's great. Staying in the heavenly demon battlefield with Brother Ling is really a tragedy for these people, especially those who want to kill him. Dai Yelling clapped and laughed. Moon Maiden, Lan Yu, and Dai Yuling were naturally overjoyed. 4. Ling Xiao muttered to himself. After entering the heavenly demon battlefield, he had already killed 2 heavenly demons and 2 martial artists. In total, he had killed 4. As long as he killed 10, he would pass the test. However, what he was worried about was not whether he could pass the test, but the safety of his companions. The so-called test is just a game that treats human lives as child's play. For those big shots, it's like enjoying a free slaughter. How boring. Ling Xiao's heart was somewhat cold. The alliance leader could have stipulated that martial artists were not allowed to kill each other and only target heavenly demons. However, she did not do so. Perhaps to her, killing those stupid heavenly demons was a little too boring. Killing between martial artists was what truly excited her. Otherwise, wouldn't he have come for nothing? Reality is really cruel. Ling Xiao shook his head. Without strength, he could only be a plaything in the hands of others. He couldn't even choose how he died. Fortunately, Ling Xiao was not weak. Even if he participated in this game, he could still carve out a future. Continue. Ling Xiao knew that there was no point in lamenting. Only by making the Alliance Master unhappy could he be considered to have truly rebelled. What he needed to do was to protect the lives of everyone in Qingshu College. We're almost there. That's where Ling Luo is. Ling Xiao increased his speed and hurried on. A moment later, he discovered Ling Luo's figure. At this moment, Ling Luo's body was covered with injuries. He was currently hiding behind a cliff and recuperating. It seemed that he had been hunted down by someone before, and now he had escaped danger. Ling Xiao let out a sigh of relief and rushed towards Ling Luo. During the flight, the corners of his mouth curled up into a sneer. What a boring trap. Seems like a lot of people want me dead. He's coming. This idiot actually rushed over without looking at his surroundings. Just beside Ling Xiao's location, a person was lying quietly in a small mound of dirt. He was using his sole power to spy on Ling Xiao, who was rushing over. The moment Ling Xiao was about to land, this person suddenly exploded. A cold light flashed in his hand as he mercilessly attacked Ling Xiao. However, in the next moment, Ling Xiao only turned his head and glanced at him. His eyes were gloomy and terrifying. That martial artist actually hurriedly turned back in midair and fled to the other side. He was actually frightened by Ling Xiao's gaze. So cowardly. You want to kill me? Ling Xiao looked at that martial artist disdainfully, revealing a bit of coldness. However, in the next moment, a dozen martial artists rushed out of the mound of dirt. Oh, all the martial artists from the sacred dynasty's Fairy Island are here. Ling Xiao casually counted. There were exactly 18 of them. Originally, a total of 20 people from the sacred dynasty's Fairy Island had entered the Heavenly Devil battlefield. Previously, 2 of them had been killed by him. Now, there were only 18 left. Including Ji Tianming, none of them were weak. Ling Xiao, we already knew that you wouldn't abandon your brother. Poor idiot. He thought that he had escaped our pursuit. In fact, he didn't know that we deliberately used him to bait you. Ji Tianming sneered. How did you all gather together so quickly? Ling Xiao suddenly asked a question that had nothing to do with Ji Tianming's words. However, this question was very serious. Logically speaking, after entering the Heavenly Devil battlefield, they should have been scattered. Even if they had a way to contact each other, it was impossible for them to gather together in such a short time. Then there was only one possibility, that Alliance Master deliberately gathered the people from the sacred dynasty's Fairy Island together. I have no enmity with her. Why would she do this? Ling Xiao couldn't help but feel puzzled and angry. He didn't have any objections to a fair test. However, if someone deliberately targeted him, then he wouldn't be happy. At the same time, outside the door of the ruins, the Moon Maiden had already floated in the air. She looked coldly at the Alliance Master and asked the same question. That's right. This seat did it on purpose. So what? The Alliance Master looked at the Moon Maiden without fear. I don't care where you came from. If anything happens to Ling Xiao because of you deliberately making things difficult for him, I will definitely kill you. I guarantee that you will suffer the greatest pain in this world. The Moon Maiden looked coldly at the Alliance Master and suddenly smiled. You think you can kill Ling Xiao like this? You are just sending a killing god to those pitiful people from the sacred dynasty's fairy island. She didn't return to her seat. This Alliance Master could clearly use soul force to control the heavenly devil battlefield. Although this kind of control was very limited, if something like this happened again, she would have to stop it. The Alliance Master was still expressionless. She didn't refute the Moon Maiden's words, but she was somewhat disdainful of the Moon Maiden's words. One Ji Tianming was enough for Ling Xiao to handle, not to mention that there were 18 of them. Could Ling Xiao really escape unscathed? She didn't believe it. This time, Ling Xiao won't be able to escape. Ji Ruolong was in a good mood. He couldn't think of any possibility for Ling Xiao to escape under such circumstances. Inside the heavenly devil battlefield, Ji Tianming naturally wouldn't answer Ling Xiao's question. He just waved his hand and said one word, "Kill." However, before he could finish speaking, Ling Xiao's body was already more than 10 meters above Ji Tianming in the blink of an eye. Golden crow, rising sun. With a thrust of the sword, the air seemed to solidify. A huge golden crow burned the air, enveloping all the cultivators from the sacred dynasty's fairy island, including Ji Tianming. Ah! Miserable screams sounded one after another. In just one move, the sacred dynasty's fairy island lost 8 Grotto Heaven Realm disciples in an instant. Of the remaining 10 people, 5 were seriously injured. Are you going to kill me like this? Ling Xiao sneered disdainfully. Chapter 1518. Ling Xiao had a mocking expression on his face. Looks like not many people know about what happened in the dragon-slaying forest. You guys didn't learn your lesson. Since that's the case, I'll broadcast the video to the entire Divine Phoenix continent and let everyone see the consequences of offending me. Ling Xiao. Void Shadow Crocodile. Another sword thrust out. It looked like a simple move, but in exchange, 5 of the Sacred Dynasty's immortal island martial artists died tragically. There are 5 people left. Ling Xiao's mouth was filled with cold disdain. Tao Tai Doomsday. An even more terrifying move was condensed. Those 3 moves were consecutive moves to begin with. They all belonged to the third profoundness. Thus, when Chu Feng unleashed them, he was able to unleash them smoothly and without the slightest pause. Break for me. Ji Tianming's face was gloomy as he roared. He held his treasured saber and slashed out, shattering the Tao Tai sword chi that was pouncing towards him. Haha, you're quite powerful. No wonder you're under Ji Huangtian on the Sacred Dynasty's immortal island. Unfortunately, you can protect yourself, but you can't protect them. Ling Xiao wasn't surprised. Ji Tianming's cultivation should be around the 10th Grotto Heaven Realm. As long as he blocked with all his strength, it was impossible for him to be killed in one move. However, this was Ji Tianming's limit. There was no one alive beside him. Damn it, if I don't kill you today, I'm not human. Ji Tianming definitely didn't expect that he would be so confident as to bring 19 of his fellow disciples to kill Ling Xiao. However, in the blink of an eye, he was the only one left. He didn't have the face to go back and see Ji Huangtian and the island master. Boom! He stomped his feet on the ground, causing the ground to crack. He waved his treasured saber, and a terrifying saber chi slashed towards Ling Xiao like a giant saber that could split mountains. Looks like your saber technique is quite good. If you don't die, you'll definitely become the new leader of the Sacred Dynasty's immortal island. What a pity. Ling Xiao actually had the time to comment on Ji Tianming's attack. Hearing this, Tianming almost vomited blood. When the saber chi was less than a meter away from him, Ling Xiao suddenly swung his sword to block it. Sharp sword chi whizzed out. Chi! Crack! The sword chi was like a waterfall, easily hitting the saber chi, and then an explosion sounded. Ji Tianming's saber energy was actually cut into two by Ling Xiao's sword energy. How could this be? Is your cultivation not at the 7th Grotto Heaven realm? No matter what, Ji Tianming could not accept that the saber strike that he had accumulated strength for had been broken so easily by his opponent. However, Ling Xiao didn't waste time talking nonsense. After breaking Ji Tianming's blade energy, a dark, demonic sword appeared above Ling Xiao's head. In the heavenly devil battlefield, the power of the demonic sword of darkness was naturally stronger than the divine sword of light. Dark magic sword, body annihilation. Ling Xiao, whose cultivation had increased, only needed to use the most basic moves of the heavenly devil world extermination art together with the dark magic sword to deal with Ji Tianming. This was the advantage of profound moves. As the cultivation increased, the power would also increase. Unlike many martial arts moves, after the cultivation increased, the power would not increase and would gradually be eliminated. Whirlwind saber formation. In his panic, Ji Tianming actually didn't dare to attack. Instead, he released a defensive move. The saber in his hand constantly rotated, forming a dense saber formation around his body. The energy released by the saber formation became his strongest defense. Boring. I thought you were a courageous person. Ling Xiao sighed in disdain. The sword light completely destroyed the saber formation and pierced Ji Tianming's chest. Retreat! In that instant, Ji Tianming no longer had the slightest fighting spirit. The only thing he wanted to do now was to escape. Ling Xiao was much stronger than he had imagined. The strength of his sacred dynasty Immortal Island was simply not enough. He had to contact the Permitha Immortal Island, the Black Crow Empire, the Phoenix Academy, and the Imperial family to kill Ling Xiao together. Ling Xiao, I'm not your opponent, but you don't have to kill me. From now on, we won't interfere with each other. Your opponent should be my senior brother Ji Huangtian. Ji Tianming shouted as he fled. He seemed to be very afraid that Ling Xiao would chase after him. However, Ling Xiao didn't give chase at all. Compared to killing Ji Tianming, Ling Xiao was more concerned about his younger brother Ling Luo. Ling Luo, are you all right? What made Ling Xiao happy was that his younger brother Ling Luo was very smart. When he was fighting with the Sacred Dynasty Immortal Island's martial artists, Ling Luo hid in a hidden place to prevent being held hostage by the Sacred Dynasty Immortal Island's martial artists. This made Ling Xiao hesitate to attack. I'm fine, big brother. Ling Luo grinned, but because of this, the wounds on his body were affected, causing him to frown in pain. Don't try to be brave. I'm really fine. With Big Brother's healing medicine, I'll recover quickly. Ling Luo said proudly. How about this? Follow me. I'll let you complete the assessment first, and then we'll leave this place. Ling Xiao suddenly said seriously. That's not good, Big Brother. That's cheating. To me, there's no meaning in training. Ling Luo frowned. He didn't want to be a bird that couldn't fly under his brother's protection. If it was a normal assessment, I wouldn't do this. However, this assessment has been controlled by someone. Otherwise, do you think the Sacred Dynasty's Immortal Island's martial artists would suddenly gather together? Ling Xiao said seriously, listen to me. Even training on the battlefield is better than here. Others want to kill you. All right, Big Brother. I understand. Ling Luo finally nodded. He didn't want to cause trouble for his brother. Let's go. The first person you want to kill is Ji Tianming. Ling Xiao called out to Ling Luo and chased after Ji Tianming. At this moment, outside the ruins, the Alliance Master's mood wasn't very good. Although she was wearing a veil and others couldn't see her expression, they could feel that she was feeling very uncomfortable. It wasn't easy to gather all the martial artists from the Sacred Dynasty's Immortal Island together, but Ling Xiao had killed them until only Ji Tianming was left. This Ling Xiao, is he really unstoppable? Since that's the case, let's do something even more ruthless. At the same time, the sacred dynasty's immortal island's side was gloomy. Ji Ruolong had already vomited a few mouthfuls of blood. Those dead disciples were the hope of the sacred dynasty's immortal island. Those under the age of 30 were all at the third grotto heaven realm and above. They were all geniuses among geniuses. However, only Ji Tianming was left. He hated that he couldn't swallow Ling Xiao whole. Old man, do you know what it means to bring disaster upon oneself? If you didn't instigate them to take revenge, they wouldn't have died. Just wait, that Ji Tianming won't be able to escape from Big Brother Ling's palm. Dai Yaoling looked at Ji Ruolong and said sarcastically, she was really frightened just now. There were actually so many people surrounding Ling Xiao. Therefore, what she said now was definitely not pleasant to hear. Chapter 1519. The cultivators of the sacred dynasty looked at Dai Yaoling furiously, but they didn't dare to do anything. With the Moon Maiden and the Demon Liquor Sword, they would be courting death if they went up. On the Heavenly Devil battlefield, Ling Xiao brought Ling Luo along as they chased after Ji Tianming. Ji Tianming looked back in horror and realized that Ling Xiao, who was a few hundred meters away from him, was now much closer. In his panic, he took out a pile of thunderclap thunder fireballs that he had prepared beforehand and threw them out one by one. This thing definitely couldn't kill Ling Xiao, but it could slow down Ling Xiao's movement and create a chance for him to escape. Ling Xiao looked at the thunderbolt fire bullets that filled the sky and didn't dodge. He waved the heavy ice's fury in his hand, and its speed was as fast as a broken sword. The terrifying weight didn't seem to exist in his hand at all. Boom! Boom! A series of explosions sounded in the sky. Before the thunderbolt fire bullets could get close to Ling Xiao, they were completely destroyed. But at this moment, Ji Tianming took the opportunity to increase the distance between them and continued to escape. Let's see where you can run to. Ling Xiao sneered. As long as he couldn't leave the Heavenly Devil battlefield, he could kill Ji Tianming. He definitely wouldn't let this person go. If he didn't bring Ling Luo, his speed would be even faster. But this wasn't a problem. With his current speed, it was enough to catch up to Ji Tianming. His brother Ling Luo wasn't as weak as he imagined. Ling Luo, that broken sword of yours seems to be the Ling family's heirloom? Ling Xiao recognized the broken sword in his brother's hand. In the past, when the other families of Tianfeng City joined forces with the ninja experts to destroy the Ling family, the broken sword displayed a shocking power. Now, the broken sword was in the hands of his brother. Yes, brother, you don't know this, but this broken sword was originally used by the Ling family's ancestor. This Ling family's ancestor was actually a fierce general under the ancient era's human king. It has now become my martial soul. Ling Luo said excitedly, no wonder you can fly with it. Can it be faster? Ling Xiao asked, sure, I'm just afraid that you won't be able to keep up with me. Just now, I relied on this broken sword to escape from those people. Ling Luo replied, hee, interesting. You're being looked down upon by your own little brother. Then fly as fast as you can. Don't worry about me. Ling Xiao said with a smile, all right, no problem. The two of them suddenly sped up. Ji Tianming, who was fleeing, suddenly felt the pressure grow even more terrifying. When he turned around to look, he was nearly scared out of his wits. At this moment, Ling Xiao and Ling Xiao had actually closed the distance between them once again. Moreover, they were almost behind him. Especially the terrifying killing intent emanating from Ling Xiao's body. It seemed as if it could instantly obliterate him. He shouted in horror, then took out a talisman from his storage ring and threw it out. Damn it, this is something that senior brother obtained from the Jingyi school with great difficulty. Only the cultivators of the immortal court continent can make it. What a waste! Ji Tianming had originally planned to use this talisman to deal with stronger enemies, especially at the White Tiger Storm meet. With this thing, he might be able to get a good ranking. However, he had no choice but to use it now because Ling Xiao was too terrifying. If he didn't use it now, he would have to die. Ling Xiao, why are you chasing me like this? Lord Alliance Master also said that we can kill each other here, but I can't kill you. I'm not a threat to you. Why do you have to do this? Although he said so, he threw the talisman accurately. When the talisman was 3 to 5 meters away from Ling Xiao, it suddenly released a strange light. Seeing that the situation was not right, Ling Xiao stopped Ling Luo, who was speeding up, and chose to dodge. Boom! The talisman shattered, and the terrifying heavenly lightning turned into dozens of lightning bolts and blasted toward Ling Xiao. What a terrifying thing! It said that the secret technique scrolls we use are just imitations of talismans. The power is far inferior to the talismans of the immortal court continent. Ling Xiao thought to himself, but his hands did not stop moving. Sun Moon Sword Domain Defense. With a soft chant, dense sword chi appeared around him. The heavenly lightning bombarded the sword chi. Although the sword chi was shattered, it became weak and could no longer pose any threat to Ling Xiao. Seeing this scene, Ji Tianming was dumbfounded. He had even used his trump card, but he still couldn't hurt Ling Xiao. Not only was this guy's attack terrifying, but his defense was also terrifying. How was he going to kill him? You asked me to let you go, but you tried to kill me. For a shameless person like you, even if I have to chase you to the ends of the earth, I will destroy you. Ling Xiao's voice was filled with incomparably cold, killing intent. He was most annoyed by people who said one thing but actually did another. Ling Luo, hide first. Ling Xiao was about to attack when he suddenly felt a slight wave of killing intent. It seemed that someone was trying to launch a sneak attack on him nearby. Of course, this person hid very well. Even he could only feel a slight wave of killing intent. He couldn't determine the other party's location. He couldn't accurately determine the other party's location either. However, he didn't want to take the risk, so he instructed Ling Luo to hide first. After all, Ling Luo's cultivation was still too low. He could deal with heavenly demons, but he was still no match for these powerful cultivators. Ji Tianming seemed to have been reminded of something. His originally anxious face actually relaxed. Of course, this expression was only for a moment. However, it was still caught by Ling Xiao's sharp eyes. There is indeed a problem. Ling Xiao thought to himself, if it was someone else, they would probably immediately retreat and leave this dangerous area. However, Ling Xiao didn't do that. How could one catch a tiger cub without entering the tiger's den? What he needed to do now was to beat them at their own game. He wanted to see who was trying to sneak attack him and deal with them together. Otherwise, with this person's powerful concealment technique, if he didn't want to come out, Ling Xiao wouldn't be able to do anything to him. Kill! Ling Xiao held the dark demon sword and thrusted it towards Ji Tianming with a furious roar. Sand martial spirit, come out! At this moment, Ji Tianming finally released his martial spirit. Previously, he was in a hurry and didn't have time to release his martial spirit. Now that he had a powerful helper, he didn't need to fear Ling Xiao. He released his martial spirit to give Ling Xiao more pressure. Sand martial spirit? Ling Xiao noticed that behind Ji Tianming, there was a cloud of yellow sand flying. It looked extremely strange. He had seen many martial spirits, but this was the first time he had seen such a martial spirit. It should also be a natural type martial spirit. Ling Xiao judged. The most powerful thing about natural type martial spirits was that when the compatibility between the martial spirit and the cultivator reached 100%, the body could also be naturalized. Such a cultivator was very difficult to kill. If he wanted to attack them, there was only one way, and that was to make use of the fighting spirit. Sword intent, saber intent, killing intent. As long as your battle intent was strong enough, you wouldn't need to worry about your opponent's naturalization. Chapter 1520. After Ji Tianming released his martial soul, his body suddenly became huge, as if he had turned into a sandstorm in the desert. This martial soul is interesting. My universe of tyrant contains the mountain river world. In the mountain river world, good things need to be in the desert. This way, the natural landscape will be diversified. Ling Xiao could not help but have a strong interest in Ji Tianming's martial soul. But now he had to kill this guy first. Sandstorm. Ji Tianming's voice floated from the sky, as if it came from all directions. It was impossible to determine his exact location. Then a terrifying sandstorm formed in the sky. Although the area was not big, it covered the sky and covered the sun, making it impossible to see anything. Wings of darkness. Ling Xiao muttered to himself. Then a pair of terrifying black wings appeared behind his back, absorbing the heavenly demon fighting spirit and evil chi of the heavenly demon battlefield, becoming even more evil chi. Fly. He began to fly in circles in the sandstorm. His speed became faster and faster, forming an even crazier hurricane. After a while, the sandstorm was blown away. Ji Tianming fell to the side with a trace of blood at the corner of his mouth. His eyes were filled with shock. He probably did not expect Ling Xiao to use such a method to break his martial soul. Die. Ling Xiao flapped his wings of darkness and looked coldly at Ji Tianming. The dark, demonic sword in his hand had already pierced towards his opponent. Boom! But at this moment, the ground suddenly cracked open. A figure shot towards Ling Xiao at an extremely fast speed. The short blade in his hand was filled with cold, killing intent. Someone is indeed hiding. Ling Xiao's body suddenly stopped and then flew back. The sneak attacker was very strong. It was not a wise move to take it head-on. While retreating, Ling Xiao suddenly felt a shocking chill on his back. Almost subconsciously, he entered the shadow body state. A beam of sword chi directly pierced through his shadow body. How dangerous! I did not expect that there would be two people hiding in the dark. Ling Xiao's figure appeared in the sky again, his eyes filled with shock. No, there's still one more. A strange whirlpool appeared in the void. Then a hand reached out from the whirlpool, holding an exquisite dagger, and stabbed towards Ling Xiao's waist. Ling Xiao had just used Shadow Body, and it would take some time before he could use it again. He had no choice but to use Light Shadow Armor. Crack! The dagger stabbed into the Luster Battle armor, emitting an unpleasant sound of friction. Immediately, a dent appeared on the Luster Battle armor. However, Ling Xiao also took the opportunity to get rid of the entanglement. TSK, you guys really think highly of me. The four of you actually teamed up to ambush me. Ling Xiao was finally out of danger. However, the four fellows in front of him gave him a headache. Ji Tianming of the Sacred Dynasty's Fairy Island. Dark God Palace Silver Medalist, Level 10, 10th Grotto Heaven Realm. Water God Temple's Divine Envoy, 9th Grotto Heaven Realm. The other one was Gao Yongjun from the Blackwater Fairy Island. His cultivation was the lowest, only at the 6th Paradise Realm. However, he had a very strange martial spirit. He was the one who had taken out a dagger from the void to assassinate him. They were all his enemies. There was no need to mention the Dark God Palace and the Water Fairy Temple. He was the one who killed Gao Yongjuan's father, Gao Yongwen. It was normal for him to seek revenge. However, he also wanted to seek revenge from this guy, which saved him the time to look for him. The four of them teamed up, and 3 of them launched a sneak attack. However, they were unable to hurt Ling Xiao, let alone kill him. This made their faces a little gloomy. What was Ling Xiao's cultivation level? This was the same question in their minds. Facing 2 10th Grotto Heaven Realm Martial Artists, a 9th Grotto Heaven Realm Martial Artist, and a 6th Grotto Heaven Realm Martial Artist with a special martial spirit who was actually unharmed, it would not be so easy to deal with Ling Xiao next. Outside the door of the ruins, the crowd held their breaths, not daring to speak. Once again, Ling Xiao was in an even greater danger. Compared to the previous encirclement of the 20 people from the sacred dynasty's Fairy Island, at least this time, they had almost hurt Ling Xiao. What would the next battle be like? It was really exciting. 2 hours have passed. A total of 239 martial artists entered. Currently, 101 people have died. Of the 4 people who completed the test and left the Heavenly Devil battlefield, there are 134 people left. The martial artist next to the Alliance leader announced in a cold, mechanical voice, "Fortunately, no one died on our side." Dai Yaoling looked at the death list and heaved a sigh of relief. In fact, it was clear at a glance who had died. This was because if someone was killed, it would be highlighted or replayed. No one from Qingshu College was on the list. On the contrary, 2 of the 4 people who completed the task were martial artists from Qingshu College. They were the sisters Hua Fuguang and Hua Luiying. After they entered the Heavenly Devil battlefield, they quickly met up with each other. Naturally, they used their own special method. After that, the 2 of them killed a total of 15 Heavenly Devils and 5 martial artists who tried to attack them. They successfully passed. The other 2 who passed were the Thunder Eagle Phoenix's son, Ing Tianxia, and the Vermilion Bird Phoenix's son, Zhu Wen. The 2 of them did not kill anyone. They completely relied on killing Heavenly Devils to pass the test. Anyway, no one dared to touch them. They chose to leave so quickly because they did not want to encounter Ling Xiao. The 2 of them had seen how powerful Ling Xiao was. They did not want to lose their lives. 2 pieces of trash. You are the shame of the Phoenix Academy. From today onwards, you are no longer disciples of the Phoenix Academy. Get lost. Zhu Wen and Ing Tianxia's actions made Ming Huang very unhappy. He felt that it was a cowardly thing to do. Let's go. I've never seen anyone send their students to their deaths. Ing Tianxia was carefree. Since the Phoenix Academy did not want him, he directly returned to his Thunder Eagle tribe. In any case, even if there were people in the Thunder Eagle tribe who were unhappy with him, they would not dare to say so. Zhu Wen sighed and said, "Dean, it's not that I don't want to deal with Ling Xiao. It's just that it's not a wise thing to do. With my current cultivation, I'll only be sending myself to my death if I encounter him." This guy was a smart person. He was a person who truly knew his own limits. Although many martial artists despised him and Zhu Wen very much now. However, after the end of the first trial, many people would know how wise their actions were. Zhu Wen also chose to return to the Vermilion Bird tribe's formation. The 2 tribes were embarrassed, but they did not say anything. No matter what, they had passed the first round. It was something to be happy about. At this moment, there were several battles going on at the same time in the Heavenly Devil battlefield. Ling Xiao faced Ji Tianming, the Dark Shrine's silver-grade 10 assassin, the Water Shrine's divine envoy in Gao Yangjun. Long Chen was also being chased by 3 Permitha Immortal Island martial artists. He was retreating as he fought. Shang Guanhong encountered the Black Crow Empire's 5th Maleficent Star and was in the midst of a fierce battle. Cold Plum was being attacked by Tomohiko Kuma, and Zong used Permitha Immortal Island. Chapter 1521. Haim, Miankeo, had encountered the 4th Maleficent Star of the Black Crow Empire and was fighting fiercely. The other warriors were also in a chaotic battle. In fact, if the warriors from Canopy Immortal Island and Changle Immortal Island had not scattered the warriors from Permitha Immortal Island, the Black Crow Empire, the Imperial Family, and the Phoenix Academy, the people from Qingshu College would have been in danger. Thus, it was very wise of Ling Xiao to ask them to finish the test quickly and leave the Heavenly Devil battlefield. Asterisk, 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 your master Ling Xiao is already dead. You'd better kneel down and surrender. You're lucky that my senior brother is interested in you. Otherwise, he wouldn't have let you go. Zong Yu's red spider lily looked coldly at Lung Mei, suddenly revealing a mocking expression. Master won't die. Cold Plum said indifferently, but she did not stop what she was doing. Zong Yu Permitha was very strong. Tomohiko Kuma was also very strong. This put Cold Plum under a lot of pressure. After cultivating at the Blackwater Lake, her cultivation had reached the half-step Inyang realm and she had 10% of Inyang origin power. However, Tomohiko Kuma seemed to be even more terrifying than her. If not for her twin martial souls and the exquisite fighting skills she had honed from sparring with Ling Xiao, she would have been a corpse by now. Don't talk nonsense with her. Beat her until she's half dead and then tie her up. Tomohiko Kuma said coldly. Haha, well said. We'll do as you say. Zhongyu Permitha smiled like a flower. Ling Xiao, that guy, made her lose face in front of the disciples of the Qingshu Academy and even caused her mother to be injured. She could not kill Ling Xiao, but she could kill Ling Xiao's woman. At this moment, another figure came from afar. Phoenix Cry Wushan! Tomohiko Kuma, Zhongyu, and Permitha both looked at that person warily. Don't worry, I have a grudge against Ling Xiao as well. Why don't I join your battle and join hands to deal with this girl? Feng Mingwushan said with a smile. Agreed. Tomohiko Kuma nodded. He could feel that the murderous aura from Feng Mingwushan was directed at Cold Plum. Although he didn't know what kind of enmity there was between Feng Mingwushan and Ling Xiao, one more person was better than one less person. I agree. Zhongyu and Hellflower knew that even though Cold Plum was at a disadvantage, it wouldn't be easy to kill her. One more person meant one more power. Only a fool would refuse. On the other side, Ling Xiao had already sensed that Cold Plum's aura was somewhat dangerous. Although the rest of the people were also fighting, they weren't in danger for the time being. Only Cold Plum was. Being besieged by 3 people, he had to hurry to Cold Plum's side to help. Otherwise, it would be troublesome. It seems that I have to end the battle as soon as possible. Ling Xiao took a deep breath. The sword spirits I hung above his head, and a sword flew out from it. A sword of slaughter. This time, Ling Xiao didn't merge the sword of slaughter with the dark demon sword. He wanted to use the 2 swords to kill the enemy. This would be more efficient, although he knew that there were many pairs of eyes staring at him. As long as he didn't release the complete martial soul of Tyrant or immemorial Golden Crow, there shouldn't be a problem. Anyway, the moves that he was using now had been used in previous battles. It wasn't anything new. Ji Tianming, the Silver Card Assassin, and the Oracle surrounded Ling Xiao. Meanwhile, Gao Yangjun had disappeared. His unique martial soul allowed him to maintain absolute combat prowess, even though his cultivation wasn't considered high. This was also the reason why the other 3 were willing to join forces with him. Of course, even so, the 4 of them didn't dare to underestimate Ling Xiao. Out of the 20 warriors of the Sacred Dynasty's Immortal Island, only Ji Tianming was left. This was all done by Ling Xiao. Logically speaking, Ling Xiao had already completed the assessment and could choose to leave the Heavenly Devil battlefield. But he didn't. Because he still had companions in the Heavenly Devil battlefield, he couldn't leave easily. This also gave the others a chance to kill Ling Xiao. Why do I feel that Ling Xiao is using himself as bait to deliberately weaken the strength of those enemies? In the crowd, an old warrior stroked his beard and said, "How is that possible? He can't be so terrifying." Next to him, a young warrior said in surprise. However, in his heart, he couldn't help but accept the old warrior's judgment. Could it be that Ling Xiao had long planned to wipe out all the enemies in one fell swoop in the Heavenly Devil battlefield? In fact, at this moment, the Black and White elders had the same thought. They recalled what Ling Xiao said near Fallen Phoenix City. The path of killing couldn't be stopped. Once it stopped, the opponent would have a chance to breathe. This kid was too ruthless. Do you know why I haven't left after completing the assessment? The corners of Ling Xiao's mouth curled into a sneer. If I don't stay here, how can I catch you stupid fish? Before he finished speaking, Ling Xiao suddenly made a move. Despicable. Ji Tianming roared. Everyone, let's not hold back today. Otherwise, we might all die here. This bastard is too cunning and too strong. Yes, understood. Okay, the other three didn't dare to hold back. Facing Ling Xiao, it was already a blessing to be able to win by using all their strength. Holding back? That was courting death. After Ji Tianming finished speaking, his entire body merged into the black sandstorm as if returning to nothingness. The silver assassin's body shook and split into two, then turned into two of himself. This shouldn't be a secret technique, nor some kind of martial art, but his martial spirit. Some creatures could split into two after their bodies were split. He should have this kind of martial spirit. The water temple divine envoy's martial spirit was even more domineering. His entire body was wrapped in terrifying ice crystals, making him look like a terrifying ice crystal warrior. He was 4 to 5 meters tall, and when he walked, there were banging sounds. As for Gao Yangjun, he still didn't show up. Ling Xiao was very interested in his martial spirit, but at the same time he was somewhat puzzled. This guy was actually the most difficult one to deal with, so he had to be on guard. Kill him! Ji Tianming roared, bringing along a terrifying black sandstorm as he rushed towards Ling Xiao. His murderous aura soared, majestic and frightening. Bang, bang, bang! With every step the water temple divine envoy took, the ground would shake violently. His body, which was like a small mountain, really looked like a colossus. However, his movements were still very agile. I don't have time to deal with you now. Let's find you an opponent. Since it was a fight, Ling Xiao didn't need to fight 1 against 3. If he didn't use his ability, then he would be a fool. 3-leaf demonic pupils summon bronze giant demon. Boom! The bronze giant demon fell from the sky, splashing a terrifying cloud of dust, and then stabbed the water temple divine envoy with its spear. Kacha! The sound of something shattering rang out. A piece of the ice crystals wrapped around the divine envoy's body was directly pierced. However, it was obviously not enough to kill him. The shattered part quickly healed. Chapter 1522. The bronze giant demon blocked the water god temple's divine envoy. At this time, Ji Tianming and the dark god temple's silver medallion assassin had arrived. The silver medallion assassin split into two and surrounded Ling Xiao from the left and right. The dagger in his hand carried a terrifying and gloomy aura as it pierced towards Ling Xiao's 2 vital points. Ji Tianming's terrifying black sandstorm had already arrived. It was not impossible for Ling Xiao to block their attacks at the same time. However, there was still the annoying Gao Yangjun waiting for an opportunity to attack. So at this time, Ling Xiao chose to dodge. Shadow body, dark shadow step. His body instantly turned into a shadow and disappeared in front of the enemy's eyes. Then, in an instant, he was several feet away. Not only was his speed extremely fast, but his movement technique was also strange and unpredictable. Didn't you want to kill us? Why did you dodge? Are you afraid? Ji Tianming laughed loudly. He was suddenly full of energy now. Ling Xiao chose to dodge, which meant that he was afraid of their attacks. Otherwise, with Ling Xiao's character, he would definitely not do this. It seemed that the 4 of them working together was really effective. However, in the next moment, Ji Tianming closed his mouth. Want to die? Isn't it easy? The corner of Ling Xiao's mouth raised into a sneer. Amidst his laughter, Ling Xiao held 2 swords in his hands and directly charged towards Ji Tianming. The terrifying killing intent completely condensed on Ji Tianming's body, scaring him into hurriedly retreating, his whole body trembling. At this time, Ling Xiao had already used his eye technique in both eyes. The right eye's 3-leaf demonic pupil constantly exerted pressure on the enemy's mind and bewitched their hearts. The left eye's Tai Chi eye controlled all the enemy's movements. Ji Tianming, you coward, why did you retreat? The dark god temple's silver medallion assassin shouted angrily, but he did not know how much pressure Ling Xiao's terrifying killing intent brought to Ji Tianming through the 3-leaf demonic pupil. It was impossible for Ji Tianming not to retreat. If you have time to scold others, Protect yourself first." Ling Zhao's voice suddenly sounded in the silver medallion assassin's ears. The figure that was originally pouncing towards Ji Tianming actually disappeared. "Oh no, it's a diversion." The silver assassin was scared out of his wits. As an assassin, what he was most afraid of was letting the enemy get close to him. There's no need to panic. Just die quietly. You can't be thinking that you're the only one who knows the art of cloning, right? Ling Zhao's devilish voice rang in the ears of the silver assassin from the dark god palace. At this moment, the Gemini martial spirits were ingeniously used by Ling Zhao. He was really glad that he had once fought with the sixth bane of the Black Crow Empire. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to obtain the Gemini martial souls and three-leaf demonic eyes. Pucci! The silver assassin felt his body suddenly become weak and powerless, as if his soul was being sucked away. Then his body was sent flying by a kick and landed on the ground. Although it was very painful, he didn't die. The silver assassin was overjoyed. He felt that he had luckily saved his life. However, he soon despaired. A broken sword cut off his head. Ling Luo, who was hiding in the dark, revealed a cold smile. "Idiot! Do you really think that your brother can't kill you? He's saving you for me. 7. 2 more, and I'll pass the test." Ling Luo once again disappeared into the darkness. He, who was younger than Ling Zhao, knew that he wasn't strong enough, so he didn't plan to help, because that would only cause trouble for his brother, Ling Zhao. That guy, he actually obtained the Gemini martial spirits of the sixth bane. Outside the ruins, the warriors from the Black Crow Empire gritted their teeth. Not only did he obtain it, but he used it better than the sixth bane. The first bane, He Yanbing, said coldly he's a talent, but it's a pity that he's an enemy of the Black Crow Empire. Even if he doesn't die in the Heavenly Devil battlefield, he can forget about escaping from my hands. Next, it's your turn. Ling Zhao looked at Ji Tianming with a cold smile and said, "Do you really think that you can kill me by calling a few good-for-nothings to surround me?" A mocking smile appeared on his face. In fact, the best way to deal with encirclement was to divide the battlefield. Let the 1 versus many fight become 1 versus 1. Ling shouted this. He used the bronze giant demon to restrain the Water Divine Hall's divine envoy, then used the Gemini martial spirits to scare Ji Tianming away and lure Gao Yangjun away. Then he suddenly attacked the Dark Shrine's silver metal assassin. This silver metal assassin's attack was probably the strongest, but his defense was the weakest. It would be easy to kill him. Ji Tianming saw the cold smile on Ling Zhao's face, and the hope of victory that had just been ignited in his heart instantly disappeared. He originally thought that Ling Zhao would be suppressed by the 4 of them, and that he would be able to quickly avenge his fellow sect members. However, in the end, one of their people was killed, and Ling Zhao was still unharmed. "Ling Zhao, you better resign yourself to death. Otherwise, I will kill your brother." At this moment, a cold voice sounded. It turned out that when Ling Luo came out to kill the silver metal assassin, he was targeted by Gao Yangjun. Gao Yangjun knew that killing Ling Zhao was not easy, but dealing with Ling Luo, he was very confident. The cold blade was placed on Ling Luo's throat, and a trace of blood could even be seen flowing down. "Ha ha ha, ha 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 ha, Ling Zhao. Today I want to see what you will do. You keep saying that you are loyal and righteous, but now that your brother is a hostage, what will you do?" Ji Tianming was stunned for a moment, then he laughed loudly. "Gao Yangjun, well done!" Shameless, too shameless. Outside the ruins, Dai Yaoling was so angry that she stomped her feet. "Don't worry. Your big brother Ling has dealt with this kind of shameless people many times. Nothing will happen," Lan Yuer said with a smile. "Look at his expression. Is there even a trace of panic?" Dai Yaoling looked at the huge screen and found that it was indeed so. Not only was Ling Zhao not panicked, but the corner of his mouth raised into a cold smile. "If you can predict it, do you think that I can't?" Hearing this, Gao Yangjun's expression changed greatly, and dark red blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. "How is this possible?" Behind him, a shadow pierced his heart. Then, Ling Luo quickly slashed out, and the broken sword cut off Gao Yongjuan's arm, then chopped off his head. The eighth one. Although his throat still hurt, Ling Luo was very excited. Big brother, you are too powerful. How did you know that he was going to deal with me? Ling Luo wiped the blood from his throat and asked with a smile. Because your big brother's enemies are all despicable and shameless. They can't beat me, so they naturally want to kill you. Therefore, I hid the shadow child beside you and lured him to take the bait. Ling Xiao chuckled. To be honest, Gao Yongjuan's martial spirit is a little strange. I can't find his weakness in a short time, but this guy is a little stupid. After killing Gao Yongjun, he took out the eye of the immortal pot and absorbed his martial spirit. Oh, so it is called the spatial gate. This martial spirit is quite strange. The moment he absorbed the martial spirit, Ling Xiao knew the name and effect of this martial spirit. Chapter 1523. The so-called martial spirit spatial door referred to the ability to open a spatial door within a certain range and directly travel from one place to another. If an assassin possessed such a martial spirit, it would really be too bizarre. I'll keep it first. It might be useful in the future. Ling Xiao muttered to himself, then looked at Ji Tianming. Very happy, right? 2 of your companions died, and the only ones left who killed me to share the credit are the 2 of you. Very proud, right? These words were full of ridicule. Ji Tianming's expression was somewhat ugly, and he said with a flattering smile, Misunderstanding, it's all a misunderstanding. I originally didn't intend to be enemies with Brother Ling, but these 3 fellows insisted on pestering me. As soon as these words came out outside the ruins, the martial artists of the sacred dynasty's immortal island immediately lowered their heads. It was simply a loss of face. Saying such words was a bit too shameless. Ling Xiao smiled and said, In terms of shamelessness, you can also be considered a person who can be ranked at the top. Right at this time, the bronze giant suddenly burst out with a roar, and the long spear pierced through the chest of the water spirit temple's divine envoy. This spear pierced from the outside to the inside, and the water spirit temple's divine envoy's body was pierced through. Half of this credit was given to Ji Tianming. It was precisely Ji Tianming's shameless words, coupled with the tragic death of the other 2, that caused the water spirit temple's divine envoy to panic. The bronze giant seized the opportunity and pierced through with a spear. Ling Luo, he's still breathing. Go and finish him off. Ling Xiao shouted. Actually, there was no need for him to shout. Ling Luo had already charged over and cut off the divine envoy's head. This kid had once suffered a loss. He killed the enemy without finishing him off, and in the end he was sneak attacked. So from then on, if he wanted to kill the enemy, he would inevitably cut off the enemy's head in the end. Only then could he be at ease. Otherwise, he really couldn't be at ease. Many thanks, big brother. This is the 9th. There's still one left. Ling Luo licked his lips and looked at Ji Tianming with a smile. Cheating. This is cheating. Outside the ruins, many martial artists shouted indignantly. The rules don't seem to say that we can't deal the finishing blow. Why don't you change the rules now, Lord Alliance Master? The demon wine sword looked at the Alliance leader with a smile. His words were naturally filled with ridicule. This was not the first time the Alliance Master had targeted Ling Xiao. I've said it before. As long as you kill 10 of them, you'll pass the test, regardless of how you do it. She didn't seem to care if Ling Xiao passed or not. She only cared about how Ling Xiao died. On the heavenly demon battlefield, Ji Tianming stood there in horror. He was clearly in his own sandstorm domain, but he didn't have any confidence facing Ling Xiao. Right now, he couldn't even figure out what cultivation level Ling Xiao was at. Was this guy really at the 7th Grotto Heaven stage? If that was the case, how could he have killed so many cultivators who were much stronger than him so easily? Furthermore, he clearly had a feeling that Ling Xiao was not going all out. Because of the battle in the dragon-slaying forest, Although he didn't witness it with his own eyes, he heard people mention it. Today's Ling Xiao didn't use many of the moves he used at that time. It was obvious that he was being lenient. But even so, even if Ling Xiao held back, the four of them actually couldn't do anything to Ling Xiao. Instead, 3 of them were eliminated in a row. Once again, he was all alone. Just like before when he led the 17 martial artists from the Sacred Dynasty's Immortal Island to besiege Ling Xiao and finally fled for his life. Another tragedy had happened. What are you thinking about? Regret? Or thinking about how to escape? Ling Xiao's voice startled Ji Tianming out of his panicked imagination. Plop! Ji Tianming actually knelt down. Let me go. I'm willing to be your slave. Just like those people from the Peacock clan and the Rock clan. No matter what you want me to do, I'm willing. He would rather be a slave than die, because it wasn't easy for him to cultivate to his current realm. If he died like this, everything would be over. And if he became Ling Xiao's slave, he would have a chance to turn the tables in the future. It was said that the people from the Peacock clan and the Rock clan lived very comfortably in Ling Xiao's place, including betraying your sect, betraying your island master. Ling Xiao's eyes were filled with a strong sense of sarcasm. He looked down on Ji Tianming. This was completely different from Peng Nantian and Kong Hao. Those 2 people endured humiliation and swore to be slaves for the sake of the other clansmen's lives. But why did Ji Tianming do it? It was purely for himself. Yes, as long as I don't die, I'm willing to betray whoever you want me to. Ji Tianming said. Ling Xiao suddenly looked at the sky. He believed that many people were watching the scene. Ji Ruolong, this is the so-called genius you nurtured. Hee, what a joke. In order to survive, he can even betray you. Do you think I should have such a slave? What? Ji Tianming was stunned. He didn't know that everything here could be seen from the outside. At this moment, his face was filled with extreme horror. Outside the door of the ruins, everyone was dumbfounded. Ji Tianming, a dignified 10th Grotto Heaven Realm martial artist, actually didn't think of how to win when facing Ling Xiao. Instead, he used the condition of betraying his sect to beg Ling Xiao to make him a slave. What kind of F***CK was this? What kind of shamelessness was this? It was too ironic. Ji Ruolong had already spat out a few mouthfuls of blood. It was bad enough that he was humiliated by Ling Xiao, but in front of so many people, the genius he had painstakingly nurtured chose to betray him, just to be a slave for someone else. This was simply trampling on his old face. However, Ji Huangtian's expression seemed to be cold. What he saw was not only Ji Tianming's humiliation, but also Ling Xiao's terror. Even he felt that this kind of strength was a little troublesome, although he could still deal with it now. If this guy was allowed to continue growing, then there would likely be no way to contain this crazy guy in the future. There were many people who had the same thoughts as Ji Huangtian. What was a genius? In the eyes of the majority, Ji Tianming and Gao Yangjun were all geniuses. They were unusually talented, and their cultivation surpassed others at a young age. Furthermore, when facing ordinary martial artists, challenging someone one level higher was a breeze. These people were the idols in the hearts of many young martial artists in the past. Even many senior experts also praised them. However, these so-called geniuses were now killed, and one was kneeling there begging Ling Xiao to take him in as a slave. What an ironic scene this was. I think we should give Ling Xiao a title, Genius Terminator. Genius Hunter is also not bad. Yeah, facing these geniuses, Ling Xiao is always a level higher than them. This kind of existence should really be called the Genius Terminator. I wonder what those geniuses who are usually so proud that their tails are wagging think. The crowd was discussing animatedly, talking and laughing. They didn't care who was killed. It was more important to watch a show. Chapter 1524. Apart from watching the show, the spectators also hoped that a major force like the Five Immortal Island would be defeated. After all, the Five Immortal Island was usually so arrogant and thought highly of themselves. now that they were so cowardly in front of Ling Xiao. It was really embarrassing. Ling Luo kill him. Ling Xiao no longer had time to waste with Ji Tianming. He could sense that Cold Plum was in danger. He had to settle the matter here, and then find Cold Plum. Got it, brother. Ling Luo chuckled, pulled out the broken sword, and walked towards Ji Tianming. You want to kill me too? I'm afraid of your brother, but I'm not afraid of you. Ji Tianming knew that there was no way he would be let off by Ling Xiao today. He stood up and roared at Ling Luo ferociously. However, the moment he stood up, Ji Tianming realized in horror that he had been tricked by Ling Xiao. His hands and legs were bound by the black shadow, and he couldn't break free at all. Goodbye, expert. Those were the last words Ji Tianming heard before he died. He was beheaded by a brat whose cultivation was much lower than his. Good death. That voice actually came from Ji Ruolong's mouth. Almost all the warriors from the sacred dynasty's immortal island couldn't wait for the disgraceful Ji Tianming to die. However, the only one who truly shouted was Ji Ruolong. That was because he was too angry. His anger had reached its peak. At this point, the 4 people who had besieged Ling Xiao had all died in Ling Luo's hands. Ling Luo had also successfully completed the assessment and chose to leave the Heavenly Devil battlefield. He knew that he wasn't strong enough. If he stayed, he would only cause trouble for Ling Xiao. To have such a sensible brother was really a blessing for Ling Xiao. Seeing Ling Luo come out, an elder from the Blackwater Immortal Island suddenly rushed out and grabbed at Ling Luo with his huge hand, trying to kill him on the spot. However, what welcomed him was a sword filled with murderous intent. The demon wine sword made its move. Seeing that Ling Xiao was so outstanding and that he wanted to achieve his goal, the wine demon sword naturally wanted to help Ling Xiao do more things. Otherwise, it wouldn't be fun if Ling Xiao refused to help in the future. Boom! In the sky, an explosive sound rang out. The old man from the Blackwater Immortal Island was sent flying into the dragon-slaying forest. His mouth was full of blood. If you don't have the ability to kill, don't provoke others. Although I don't know what relationship you have with Gao Yangjun, he deserved to die. The demon wine sword floats in the air, coldly looking at the old man, its expression cold and emotionless. That's right. Killing is normal in the Heavenly Devil battlefield. You're not allowed to cause trouble here. Otherwise, you people from the Blackwater Immortal Island can scram. The Alliance Master's cold voice rang out. Although she didn't like Ling Xiao and had even devised all kinds of methods to try to kill Ling Xiao. However, if someone were to cause trouble here because someone had died in the Heavenly Devil battlefield, that would be disrespecting her. She couldn't accept that. Thank you, Uncle Demon Wine Sword. Ling Luo cupped his hands at the Demon Wine Sword, then happily returned to Qingshu College's formation. The old man got up from the ground and looked at Ling Xiao, who was in the door of the ruins, with a vicious gaze. Gao Yangjun was a disciple that he had focused on nurturing. Moreover, he was his biological grandson. Gao Yangjun was extremely talented and was definitely a strong contender for the future successor of the Blackwater Immortal Island. However, he was killed by Ling Xiao and Ling Luo just like that. Ling Xiao had gone too far. He had gone too far. At this moment, the old man might have forgotten that if Gao Yangjun hadn't attacked Ling Xiao first, and even used Ling Xiao as a hostage to threaten Ling Xiao, he wouldn't have died. Wouldn't it have been fine if he had chosen to leave after completing the mission like Zhu Wen and Ning Tianxia? It was a pity that this old man would never consider his own mistakes and would instead direct all his anger onto Ling Xiao. At this moment, the killing in the Heavenly Devil battlefield had not stopped. The number of people continued to decrease. Of course, there were those who were killed and also those who successfully completed the mission. However, some people harbored evil intentions and refused to leave the Heavenly Devil battlefield even after completing the mission, because they were confident and were not afraid of encountering any enemy. These people's goal was to kill everyone related to Ling Xiao. Of course, the final goal was to kill Ling Xiao. Phoenix Cry Sky Mountain, Mount Fengming, Zhongyu Red Spider Lilies, and so on were all such people. The chaotic battles still continued, and the killings also happened continuously. Some were killed by the martial artists who entered together, while some died at the hands of the heavenly devils. The faces of the various major factions' leaders were all ugly because the martial artists who entered the heavenly devil battlefield seemed to have been schemed against. The number of deaths was too high and already exceeded their acceptable range. However, this kind of death still continued. They did not understand what the Alliance chief wanted to do. Even if these people were still unable to resist the martial artists of the White Tiger continent, they could still grow up in the future. Wouldn't it be too much of a pity to die just like that? However, whether they understood or not did not mean much. Anyway, they did not dare to go and defy the Alliance chief's will. Ah! A scream sounded. It was the cry of the heavenly devils. Ling Xiao felt a little strange. It was as if someone was deliberately obstructing him from rescuing Cold Plum. The number of heavenly devils he encountered just now was still in the single digits, but when he was heading towards Cold Plum's location, the number of heavenly devils actually increased greatly. Although he was fearless in the face of these heavenly devils and destroyed them when he encountered them. However, even for him, there was a limit to his endurance. Such frequent killings would also exhaust him. Looks like someone is really deliberately messing with me. Ling Xiao thought of the Alliance chief. When he was surrounded and killed previously, he had already guessed this point. And now, this fact was even more confirmed. Looks like even if Ling Xiao finds his woman, he probably won't have the strength to fight. Someone is deliberately tricking him. Even an idiot could see that there was a problem in this. Cold Plum could only fight and retreat in the face of Tomohiko Kuma, Zhongyu, Red Spider Lilies, and Phoenix Cry Wushan. She could not gain the slightest advantage at all. Her body was already covered in wounds. Fortunately, she was skilled and was not killed. However, as time passed, no one knew what would happen. Boom! Suddenly, a moonlight blade flew towards the fire phoenix in the sky. Then, sparks flew all over the sky. The fire phoenix let out a sorrowful cry and swayed as if it was about to fall. Moon Maiden, what are you trying to do? The Alliance chief asked coldly. You're asking me what I'm trying to do? I want to ask you, don't you feel shameless for targeting Ling Xiao time and time again? The Moon Maiden asked coldly. Targeting him? You're wrong. I'm just training him because I have high hopes for him. I feel that he will definitely become a new force to fight against the White Tiger mainland. Since that's the case, he should train more so that he can grow faster and better. Speaking of this, the Alliance chief suddenly smiled and said, Love is the easiest way to erase a person's fighting spirit. Therefore, the Cold Plum must die. Only with her death can Ling Xiao truly become a talent. Chapter 1525. It's all a bunch of nonsense. The Moon Maiden said coldly, Since you won't stop, don't blame me for taking action. She rose into the air and floated in the air like a fairy from the Moon Palace, dazzling everyone's eyes. Then, she charged toward the Alliance leader at an extremely fast speed. The two female warriors beside the Alliance leader tried to stop her, but they couldn't even withstand a single blow from the enraged Moon Lady. They were instantly killed. Your Highness Moon Maiden is indeed powerful, but I'm not afraid of you. The Alliance leader put away his Fire Phoenix mount and fought the Moon Maiden in the sky above the killing dragon forest. No one intervened, because some wanted to, but they were powerless, while others were too lazy to interfere. With the Moon Maiden restraining the Alliance leader, Ling Xiao immediately felt the pressure on him decrease. At least the heavenly demons that swarmed toward him had decreased again. However, because he had exhausted too much energy, he had to find a place to recover first. Otherwise, if he went to save Cold Plum in his current state, he might drag Cold Plum down instead. There were some special towers in the heavenly demon battlefield. These towers were very strange. There were strange, secret technique cannons at the top of the towers that would shoot heavenly demons as long as they approached. There were also strange light screens around the towers that could prevent heavenly demons from entering the towers. This should be a ruin left behind by the ancestors. Back then, when the myriad races fought against the heavenly demons, they relied on this secret technique tower to have a chance to breathe. Bastards, wait until I've rested enough. Then I'll settle the score with you guys. Ling Xiao saw a warrior from the Everlasting Joy, Celestial Island, enter the secret technique tower with his own eyes. The 3 heavenly demons that were chasing him did not dare to approach. The secret technique tower's secret technique cannons were powerful. Heavenly demons below the 5th Grotto Heaven realm were basically instantly killed. Those above the 5th Grotto Heaven realm could only resist for a while, but it was still very dangerous. Although that person was in a sorry state, no matter what, he managed to preserve his life. This secret technique tower was really amazing. Thinking of this, Ling Xiao also walked toward the secret technique tower. He also wanted to find a place to rest first before looking for Cold Plum. He had already used his soul power to contact his other companions and had them come closer to him. Previously, due to his soul energy being blocked, he could only sense it but not communicate with it. For some reason, the connection was now unobstructed. Could it be that the person outside who has been targeting me is in trouble? Ling Xiao couldn't help but grin as he thought of the Moon Maiden. His Moon Maiden sister wouldn't just stand by and watch him suffer. Faced with such a situation, she would definitely attack in anger. There was no doubt about that. Just as he was thinking, several beams of demonic light suddenly shot over from afar. Ling Xiao didn't even look at him as he ignited his Scarlet Sun feather coat. Any heavenly demon that got close to him, as long as they were slightly weaker, would be instantly ignited by the scorching heat. He didn't turn back and continued walking into the secret arts tower. The Sky Fiends also chose to stop attacking. They could still judge how terrifying Ling Xiao was. The moment he passed through the light curtain, Ling Xiao could feel a warm current flowing smoothly through his blood. It was very comfortable. Ah, isn't this young Master Ling? Why are you here as well? The one who spoke was the disciple from the Last Joy, Celestial Island. I was chased by heavenly demons, so I came here to hide. Ling Xiao smiled faintly. There was no need to explain too much about such things. Hee, it's great that you're here. Those guys from the Black Crow Empire and the Permethra Celestial Island won't be able to be arrogant anymore. The disciple from the Last Joy, Celestial Island, was excited. What's going on? Ling Xiao asked. This secret arts tower usually has 3 levels. The first level only provides shelter and doesn't help with healing and recovery. The second level will release special light energy to assist in healing, but that's all. The third level is more powerful. Not only does it increase the healing speed, but it can also restore physical strength and inner energy. Therefore, the third level is a place that martial artists must fight for. The disciple from the Last Joy, Celestial Island, replied. Speaking of this, he suddenly sighed helplessly and said, "It's a pity that the third level is now occupied by the Black Crow Empire's 3rd Maleficent Star. The second level is occupied by a few martial artists from the Permethra Celestial Island. I was just healing in there, but I can't do it this time." Boom! At this moment, a figure was blasted out of the 3rd level and fell to the ground, covered in blood. The person who was blasted out was a disciple from the Canopy Celestial Island. At the same time, a voice came from above. Since the Canopy Celestial Island is in cahoots with Ling Xiao, don't even think about taking advantage of this place. We're already being merciful by not killing you. Ling Xiao frowned. It turned out that the disciples from the Canopy Celestial Island were affected because of him. In that case, he had to do something. There are disciples from the Canopy Celestial Island and the Last Joy Celestial Island here. Follow me. Ling Xiao stood up. He needed a good place to recover his physical strength. It was also good to help the people from the Last Joy Celestial Island and the Canopy Celestial Island. Although others had given him a drop of water, he had to repay them with a spring. Young Master Ling, Don't blame me for praising others and belittling ourselves. The martial artists here are a little weak. The strongest one is the one who is injured. His cultivation is at the 7th Grotto Heaven realm. The few martial artists from the Permitha celestial island on the 2nd level are at the 8th and 7th Grotto Heaven realm. As for the 3rd malefic star of the Black Crow Empire, his strength is even more terrifying. You have to think carefully. The disciple from the Last Joy celestial island said worriedly. Because he was inside, he did not see the scene where Ling Xiao killed Ji Tianming and the others. He did not understand how terrifying Ling Xiao was now. This kind of worry was reasonable. That's right. If you're not strong enough, you'll end up like me. The severely injured martial artist from the Canopy celestial island said, helplessly. Ling Xiao did not explain anything. Since he could not explain it clearly, he decided to go up alone. He wanted to show these people his strength and be confident. Young Masterling, you have to be careful. Let's go. The few of us who are not injured will follow you. If young Masterling is in danger, we can still fight. Perhaps the disciples of the Lastest Joy Celestial Island were influenced by the Lastest Joy Celestial Island. They treated Ling Xiao well. Seeing that Ling Xiao was going to take the risk, they hurriedly called out to the crowd and followed him. In the 2nd level, a few martial artists from the Permitha Celestial Island were sitting cross-legged to recover. They had an intense battle with the heavenly demons and even met Long Qin in the process. They originally wanted to kill Long Qin, but they did not expect to be lured into the heavenly demon's nest and almost died. When we recover, we'll go and kill Long Qin. That guy isn't strong, but he's pretty smart. He actually dared to trick us. A martial artist said fiercely, after killing Long Qin, aren't you afraid of Ling Xiao? What's there to be afraid of? He's just trash with more fame than strength. Do you really think he's a top expert? Wait, who are you? The martial artist from the Permitha Celestial Island casually replied. However, he felt that something was wrong. Chapter 1526. The martial artist from the Permitha Immortal Island suddenly felt that something was amiss, because the person who asked the question was not his companion, but the martial artist who walked in from outside. This bunch of rookies really didn't know what was good for them. They actually dared to come here. He looked at the person at the door with murderous intent. In the next moment, there was a hint of fear in his eyes. However, that fear soon disappeared. This was because Ling Xiao had sent him to the boundless hell with a single sword strike. The people from the Sacred Dynasty Immortal Island here have all been wiped out. The Dark God Hall and the Water God Hall each sent one person here, and they were all killed by me. Next, it's your turn. Ling Xiao wasn't that angry at first. However, the words of the person from the Permitha Immortal Island just now made him want to kill. These people were really targeting him. Not only did they want to kill him, but they also wanted to kill his friends. Since that was the case, why couldn't he make the first move? A few more sword lights flew out, and the 10 martial artists from the Permitha Immortal Island here were all killed. These people didn't even have time to react before they died mysteriously. Ling Xiao's sword was too fast. It was so fast that no one could react. The disciple from the Everlasting Joy Immortal Island peeked inside. He wanted to see what was going on, but he was so scared that his whole body trembled. Oh my God, he's too strong. Young Masterling really lives up to his reputation. No wonder the Patriarch told us to treat him better. The disciple was very glad that he didn't take too many detours with the 2 Vice Island Masters. Otherwise, he would be in trouble today. All right, you guys stay here and heal your injuries first. Especially you. Your injuries aren't light. I'll go up and meet the 3rd Jinx. Ling Xiao turned around and said. Then he walked out of the 2nd floor and headed to the 3rd floor. The martial artists on the 2nd floor were still cleaning up the corpses inside. It didn't feel like much time had passed when they heard something fall outside. They rushed out and looked at the ground. They saw a corpse on the ground of the 1st floor. Who else could it be but the 3rd Jinx? How long did it take? Probably less than a minute. This is too terrifying. The third malefic star of the Black Crow Empire should be a ninth paradise realm martial artist. How could he be killed so easily? Ling Xiao is too terrifying. Everyone discussed for a long time and finally came to this conclusion. Less than a minute, perhaps only a few dozen seconds, or even a dozen seconds. Such frightening strength really made people feel dread. Just how strong is that guy? Outside the entrance of the ruins, the martial artists could not help but suck in a breath of cold air. Ling Xiao's performance was simply too stunning. This fellow should not be inferior to the top 10 of the Dragon Phoenix list. Ling Xiao only stayed on the third floor of the Secret Arts Tower for a quarter of an hour. After he had fully recovered, he quickly left to look for Cold Plum. Along the way, he encountered Long Qin, who was being pursued by 3 martial artists from the Permethos Celestial Island and 7 martial artists from the Blackwater Celestial Island. Although Long Qin was a little disheveled, he had already relied on his terrifying bloodline talent to kill 3 people. Otherwise, there would be 13 people chasing after him. Ling Xiao did not say anything. He slashed the air with his sword, and a huge Taotai ruled the entire space. The 10 martial artists who were chasing after Long Qin died on the spot. They did not even know who had attacked. This guy is crazy. The martial artists from the Blackwater Celestial Island stood up. How dare he do this? How dare he say that? You're allowed to chase after our Qingshu College's disciples, but I, Brotherling, am not allowed to kill your people? What kind of logic is this? Dai Yaoling said sarcastically. That's right. I said you're shameless and you're not holding back. Ling Luo also chimed in. He had been hunted down and nearly lost his life. Thus, he did not have the slightest bit of sympathy for these people. After a while, Long Qin broke through the air. With Ling Xiao's help, he completed the assessment and left the Heavenly Devil battlefield. After that, Ling Xiao continued forward and met Shang Guanhong again. This guy had just killed the 5th Maleficent of the Black Crow Empire, but he was also seriously injured. It could be said that both sides suffered losses. Ling Xiao gave him a healing pill and lured a few heavenly devils over to help Shang Guanhong complete his mission. If the rules were fair, Shang Guanhong and Long Qin would not need Ling Xiao's help. However, this test was unfair to begin with. Thus, Ling Xiao did not hesitate to help. Shang Guanhong completed his mission and left the Heavenly Devil battlefield. At this time, there were only 3 martial artists from Qingshu College left in the Heavenly Devil battlefield. Ling Xiao, Cold Plum, and Hai Myung-Ko. Hai Myung-Ko was still fighting fiercely with the 4th Maleficent of the Black Crow Empire. It seemed that it would be difficult to determine the winner in a short time, but her life was not in danger. Cold Plum was the only one in danger. Somewhere in the Heavenly Devil battlefield, Cold Plum dodged Zong used Red Spider Lily's killing move again, but her expression was even worse. Facing 3 experts, she could not win even if she used all her strength. I can't die yet. Master still needs me. Lung Mei gritted her teeth. Her figure flickered, like a ghost that was hard to track. Her gaze was fixed on Phoenix Cry Wushan. This person's cultivation was the weakest of the 3. During the battle, she had been observing him and finally found his weakness. She had to kill one of them first. This way, she still had a chance of winning against 2. What a proud girl. No wonder my senior brother was tempted by you, but you're too stupid. What's so good about that Ling Xiao? He's just a lowly commoner. How can he compare to my senior brother? He's an expert ranked 4th on the Dragon Phoenix list, and Ling Xiao is worthless in front of him. Zong Yu's Permetha flower was also secretly shocked. She really did not hold back. Or it could be said that the 3 of them did not hold back. But this Cold Plum was like a natural killer with an extremely tenacious vitality, an extremely terrifying sense of smell and combat skills. Every time danger came, she could avoid it. Although she was injured, she was not seriously injured. Dragon Phoenix list? That's only because Master did not participate in the ranking. Otherwise, she would definitely be first. Cold Plum looked at Zhongyu with disdain and said, "This arrow belongs to my master. If he doesn't die, I can't die either." Her aura suddenly became more terrifying, as if she had a breakthrough in the battle. Kill! A ghostly figure dashed out. Her target was Phoenix Cry Wushan. Haha, she's coming for me, how stupid. Phoenix Cry Wushan sneered. He admitted that he was the weakest of the three, but in terms of intelligence he was stronger than the other two. Since he guessed that Cold Plum would come for him, how could he not be prepared? Pucci! Cold Plum's sword pierced into Phoenix Cry Wushan's body, but it did not feel like it pierced into the skin, but as if it had pierced into wood. That's the substitute scroll of the ninja clan. Want to kill me? Is it possible? Phoenix Cry Wushan's voice came from another place, full of pride. Chapter 1527. Be careful! Tomohiko Kuma suddenly shouted. Feng Ming Wushan was stunned for a moment. Then he felt a sharp pain in his back. A sharp dagger had already pierced his body. He looked at the other Cold Plum, only to find that it was just a bright plum blossom. You're the one who's too smart for his own good. After killing Feng Ming Wushan, Cold Plum quickly retreated. Her figure disappeared into the darkness again. Damn it, this girl still has this trick up her sleeve. She hasn't used it yet. Zhongyu by Lilia was shocked. The three of them couldn't kill Cold Plum. Could two of them do it? Don't worry about others. Take care of yourself. A cold voice suddenly came from the side. Then, Zhongyu by Lilia felt a terrifying coldness, as if the world was about to freeze. Feng Ming Piao Shui, what are you doing? This was the last sentence Zhongyu by Lilia said before she died. Never in her wildest dreams would she have thought that she would be killed by someone else after besieging Lung Mei all this while. What am I doing? Killing you. Feng Ming Piao Shui lazily brushed the hair on her forehead. Then she said indifferently, "You just killed someone from Chang'e Celestial Island, right?" At this time, Tomohiko Kuma was already nowhere to be found. That guy was smart. When he saw that the situation was not right, he hurriedly chose to escape. "Thank you." Cold Plum's figure appeared. She was obviously a little weak. "No need. If you want to thank someone, thank your man Ling Xiao. I owe him. Goodbye." Feng Ming Piao Shui smiled and disappeared. Her mission had been completed long ago. The reason why she stayed was purely to repay the favor. She originally planned to help Ling Xiao, but Cold Plum happened to be in trouble, so she conveniently helped. Chang'e ancestor, what's going on? To be inconsolable of the Permitha Immortal Island roared furiously. What else could it be? The disciples of your Permitha Immortal Island bullied my everlasting joy Immortal Island. Ling Xiao helped them. My granddaughter helped Ling Xiao's woman in order to repay him. This is very normal. Ancestor Chang'e said with a faint smile, others to be inconsolable, but he didn't care at all. Ling Xiao, who was hurrying on his way, suddenly froze for a moment before he relaxed and smiled. Who would have thought that Cold Plum would be saved by Phoenix Cry's fluttering snow? It seemed like there was no need for him to be anxious. He used his soul to tell Cold Plum to leave immediately after completing the test. He then turned around and headed for another secret art tower. Haim Miankeo and the fourth malefic star were both in the secret arts tower. Both of them were severely injured during the battle. They were chased by the heavenly demons and had no choice but to hide in the tower to recuperate. Among the people of Qingshu College, only Haim Miankeo hadn't left. Ling Xiao naturally wanted to find her. At the same time, the fourth malefic star also contacted Tomohiko Kuma and the second malefic star to go there and use Haim Miankeo to kill Ling Xiao. At the same time, the disciples of Phoenix Cry Mountain and Mount Fengming also left the battle and headed there. The Python Phoenix Boa Sheng and the Dark Phoenix Dark Current from the Phoenix Academy also received the same news. The remaining disciples of the Permitha Immortal Island and the Blackwater Immortal Island also headed there. It seemed like they were going to carry out a perfect annihilation of Ling Xiao. In addition to them, the remaining martial artists of the Martial Arts Master Island also received orders from their superiors to head to the Secret Arts Tower. Ling Xiao will definitely die there. This was what all the opposing forces were looking forward to. Without these people harassing them, the martial artists of the Celestial Island of Last Joy and the Celestial Island of Canopy had an easier time completing the mission. In addition to the martial artists killed by the heavenly demons, there were more than 10 people from the 2 immortal islands who completed the assessment and finally left the heavenly demon battlefield. However, there were also some who didn't leave. One was Piao Shui, another was Feng Minglian, and the last was Ji Luoyu and Yu Tianya. Among the 4 of them, only Yu Tianya was there to kill Ling Xiao, although he was a martial artist of the Celestial Island of Last Joy. Once in the Divine Phoenix capital, he asked Ling Xiao to let Mo Tsung go, but Ling Xiao didn't give him face. As a result, he flew into a rage out of humiliation and tried to kill Ling Xiao. In the end, he was defeated by Ling Xiao and lost face. However, his cultivation was much stronger than Ling Xiao's at that time. It was only because he was frightened by Ling Xiao's powerful soul power that he chose to escape. This time he was determined to kill Ling Xiao. Of course, Ling Xiao didn't know all of this. Right now, he only wanted to save Hai Mian Ko and leave this place himself. Anyway, he had already passed the assessment, so there was no need to waste any more time. Big brother, did you hear the voice transmission? Who is it that wants us to go there? On the way, Phoenix Cry Sky Mountain met Mount Fengming. Mount Fengming asked in confusion, "It can't be a trap, right?" Phoenix Cry Sky Mountain sneered, "I know who that voice is. Don't worry, she won't harm us. Ling Xiao has offended the person he shouldn't have offended the most this time. He won't be able to escape this calamity. I must let him suffer the pain of being cut into pieces." Mount Fengming laughed. "Big brother, you're too kind. Just cutting him into pieces is too easy for him. Why don't you just cripple him and throw him into the heavenly demon battlefield and let those heavenly demons enjoy themselves? In this way, that kid's soul will be destroyed, hee. That's right. Only in this way can we dispel the hatred in our hearts and avenge Father." Phoenix Cry Sky Mountain nodded with a smile. TSK, how terrifying. This Ling Xiao offended your royal family. He's really unlucky. Otherwise, in the future, he would probably be able to shine and shock those cultivators of the White Tiger continent. Suddenly, a voice was heard. Yu Tianya flew over from the horizon. "Gentleman's sword, are you going to help Ling Xiao?" Phoenix Cry Sky Mountain frowned. "How can that be? Ling Xiao and I have a deep grudge. Why would I help him? Right now, I can't wait to devour his bones and soul and completely destroy him." Yu Tianya suddenly revealed a sinister expression. Outside the ruins, Patriarch Changle's expression was very ugly. Although Yu Tianya was once a subordinate of the 2 Vice Island Masters, he was still a member of the Everlasting Joy Immortal Island. If he were to make a move against Ling Xiao, it would probably provoke Ling Xiao's revenge on the Everlasting Joy Immortal Island. "Island Master, there's no need to worry. Piao Shui will take care of him." On the side, Dan Feng said with a lazy look while eating peanuts with a smile on his face. This young cultivator, who was ranked first on the Dragon Phoenix list, actually looked so slovenly. This was somewhat similar to the Liquor Demon Sword. However, behind his lazy style, there was a terror that no one dared to look directly at. That's true. Patriarch Changle immediately breathed a sigh of relief. He naturally wanted to form an alliance with Ling Xiao, so opposing Ling Xiao was definitely not his wish. Why hasn't Cold Plum come out yet? In the square formation of Qingshu College, Lan Yu suddenly asked. "There's no need to look for her. Don't you know that girl's character? If Ling Xiao hasn't left the Heavenly Devil battlefield, she will definitely not leave. However, this is also good. With her strength, she can definitely help Ling Xiao." The dean of Qingshu College, Feng Qinyan, said as he looked at the ruins.